From the skies above to the shadows below. These are the alien cryptids they don't want you to know about. Tier 1 Roswell Greys. The Roswell Greys are arguably the most iconic alien species in modern pop culture. Their name comes from the 1947 Roswell incident, where a supposed UFO crash in New Mexico sparked worldwide fascination with extraterrestrials. These beings are typically described as small, gray-skinned humanoids with large, black, almond-shaped eyes, minimal facial features, and thin limbs. Despite their small size, usually around 3 to 4 feet tall, they're said to have advanced mental capabilities like telepathy. The Greys were first brought into the public eye in earnest during the 1980s and 90s, when numerous alleged abductees claimed to have encountered them. These individuals reported being taken aboard spacecrafts, subjected to experiments, and returned with missing time or altered memories. The Greys are often portrayed as cold and emotionless, treating human beings like lab specimens. Some theorists believe they are not acting independently but serve a larger galactic organization, or perhaps are even bioengineered drones created by a more powerful alien species. One of the most famous cases involving the Greys is the Betty and Barney Hill abduction of 1961. The couple claimed they were abducted by short, gray-skinned beings and subjected to medical examinations. Betty described a star map shown to her by the Greys, which some UFO researchers later tried to match with the Zeta Reticuli star system. This led to the belief that Greys might be from that binary star system, giving rise to the term Zeta Reticulans. Over time, the Roswell Greys became central to many conspiracy theories. Some believe world governments, particularly the US, made secret pacts with them, trading human access for alien technology. Others claim the Greys are part of a centuries-long hybridization program designed to merge human and alien DNA, often citing reports of hybrid children or strange, emotionless infants seen in dreams or regression therapy sessions. While skeptics attribute these stories to sleep paralysis, cultural suggestion, or mental illness, believers argue that the consistency of Grey alien reports across different cultures and time periods points to something real. Whether they are interstellar visitors, interdimensional beings, or advanced AI explorers, the Roswell Greys remain the face of the UFO phenomenon, and the first stop on our journey down the alien cryptid iceberg. Reptilian overlord. The reptilian overlords are one of the most sinister alien races in UFO conspiracy lore. Often described as tall, humanoid creatures with scaly, reptile-like skin, yellow or red eyes with vertical pupils, and an overwhelming aura of menace, they are said to be master manipulators who infiltrate societies, governments, and global institutions. Unlike the Roswell Greys, who are viewed more as scientists or observers, reptilians are seen as conquerors, controlling humanity through deception, power, and fear. This theory took root in the 1990s, primarily through the work of David Icke. According to Icke, reptilians are shape-shifting interdimensional beings from the Alpha Draconis star system. Their goal? To enslave humanity, harvest negative energy like fear and suffering, and rule through bloodlines. Icke went so far as to claim that many world leaders, Queen Elizabeth II, the Bush family, and even celebrities, are either reptilian themselves or under their influence. While many dismiss Icke's claims as pseudoscience or satire, the reptilian theory has taken deep root in fringe communities and internet culture. Beyond Icke's writings, countless abductees and whistleblowers claim to have encountered reptilians during terrifying experiences. These beings are often described as over 7 feet tall, exuding raw power and aggression. Some witnesses claim they've seen reptilians aboard spacecrafts, leading other alien species, including the Greys. Others say they've encountered them deep underground, particularly in places like the Dulce base in New Mexico, a rumored secret military facility where humans and aliens supposedly work side by side. Reptilians are frequently tied to ancient civilizations as well. Some believe that the worship of serpent gods in Mesoamerican, African, and Asian cultures, like Quetzalcoatl, Naga, or the Egyptian god Sobek, were based on real encounters with these creatures. They're also thought to be responsible for human hybridization programs, attempting to fuse their DNA with ours to create a controllable hybrid species that can seamlessly blend into society. Interestingly, reptilian sightings often involve emotional and psychic manipulation. Witnesses report a suffocating mental pressure when in their presence, as if their thoughts are being read or controlled. This has led some theorists to speculate that reptilians are not purely physical beings, but possess telepathic or even spiritual power that makes them far more dangerous than other alien types. Skeptics, of course, see the reptilian mythos as a modern expression of deep-seated fears, repackaging old stories of demons, evil overlords, and shadowy puppet masters into alien form. But believers point to the widespread reports, similar descriptions across decades, and the Nordics often referred to as the Space Brothers, or blonde aliens. The Nordics are a stark contrast to the sinister images associated with greys or reptilians. Described as tall, beautiful, humanoid beings with pale skin, long blonde hair, and piercing blue eyes, they resemble idealized human figures, almost angelic. Their demeanor is calm, wise, and compassionate, and they are commonly portrayed as protectors of humanity or watchers who intervene during times of existential danger. Reports of encounters with Nordics go back to the 1950s, when contactee George Adamski claimed he met a being named Orthon from Venus. This set off a wave of benevolent alien narratives during the Cold War era. Many of these stories involve the Nordics warning humanity about the dangers of nuclear weapons, environmental destruction, and spiritual decay. They reportedly believe in cosmic harmony and want humans to elevate their consciousness before it's too late. Unlike the Greys, who are associated with cold, clinical abductions, the Nordics are often described as having a warm presence. Contactees frequently report feelings of peace and enlightenment after interacting with them. Some say the Nordics communicate telepathically, while others claim face-to-face conversations. These beings often appear in dreams or during meditative states, suggesting they may have a non-physical or interdimensional aspect. Many UFO researchers find it fascinating how Nordic aliens often appear alongside Greys during encounters. Some abductees have described scenarios where Nordic oversees procedures conducted by Greys, acting as a higher authority or mediator. This has led to speculation that they may be part of a galactic federation, or possibly even the original creators of the Greys themselves. Despite their positive image, the Nordics aren't universally trusted in the UFO community. Some believe their beauty and kindness are a facade, masking a more manipulative agenda. There are stories of people who became obsessed or mentally destabilized after prolonged contact, suggesting a deeper psychological influence. Others suggest the Nordics are engaged in genetic experiments, blending their DNA with humans to create a hybrid species designed to awaken Earth's population. Another theory ties the Nordics to ancient mythology. The resemblance to Norse gods like Odin and Thor is uncanny, leading some to believe the Nordics have been visiting Earth for thousands of years under different identities. Their sudden emergence in the mid-20th century also aligns with a cultural shift toward spiritualism and cosmic awareness, raising questions about whether they appear in response to humanity's collective consciousness. Skeptics argue that the Nordic narrative simply reflects idealized Western beauty standards and Cold War fears. Yet, the consistency of their descriptions and the sheer volume of contactee reports keep them embedded in alien lore. Whether they are saviors, deceivers, or simply figments of imagination, the Nordics occupy a strange and significant place in the UFO cryptid hierarchy. The Flatwoods Monster. On the evening of September 12, 1952, in the small town of Flatwoods, West Virginia, one of the most bizarre and iconic alien encounters in American history unfolded. The creature that would become known as the Flatwoods Monster, or the Braxton County Monster, is unlike any other alien cryptid reported before or since. Its appearance was more surreal than sci-fi. A towering figure, over 10 feet tall, with a spade-shaped head, glowing eyes, and a body cloaked in what looked like dark, metallic armor or a hovering skirt. It all began when a bright object streaked across the sky and appeared to crash into a nearby hill. A group of local children, accompanied by a few adults, went to investigate. When they reached the site, they saw a strange creature partially obscured by the trees. It emitted a pungent mist, caused nausea and burning sensations, and was said to glide rather than walk. The witnesses fled in terror. What makes the Flatwoods Monster so fascinating is the sheer strangeness of its description. Unlike the more humanoid Greys or Nordics, the Flatwoods entity seemed more like a machine, a robot, or something wearing advanced armor. Its face was round and red, with eyes that glowed like flashlights. Its body tapered downward into a cone-shaped lower half, almost like a floating dress. Some theorists suggest the entire sighting may have involved a being inside a biomechanical suit or an alien drone with protective casing. The story spread quickly, and the military soon arrived to investigate. As with many UFO encounters during the 1950s, officials dismissed the sighting as a misidentification, possibly of a meteor and a barn owl perched on a branch, made eerie by the lighting and hysteria. But the locals weren't convinced, especially given the reports of physical symptoms like throat irritation and vomiting, which some compared to exposure to gas or radiation. UFO researchers have speculated for decades about the Flatwoods monster's origins. Some believe it was a damaged alien probe or scout craft, sent to Earth to collect data or conduct reconnaissance. Others think it was a living entity wearing an exosuit, possibly injured in a crash landing. There's also a theory that the encounter was a brief interdimensional glitch, something that briefly slipped into our world and then disappeared forever. Despite its singular appearance, the Flatwoods monster has endured in UFO lore. Its distinct silhouette has become iconic, appearing in everything from video games to comic books. It represents a kind of cosmic unknown proof that not all alien encounters fit neatly into the categories of Greys, Nordics, or reptilians. What makes the Flatwoods monster truly terrifying isn't just its appearance, it's the overwhelming sense that we saw something that didn't belong to our world at all. Something that wasn't supposed to be seen. And then it vanished, leaving only radiation, panic, and silence behind. The Hopkinsville Goblin. On the night of August 21, 1955, a rural farmhouse in Kelly near Hopkinsville, Kentucky became the center of one of the most intense and bizarre alien encounters in American history. The incident would come to be known as the Hopkinsville Goblins case, and it's one of the few alien sightings investigated by the Air Force as part of Project Blue Book. What makes this case stand out is not just the sheer strangeness of the creatures involved but the sustained and violent interaction that unfolded over several hours. According to the Sutton family who lived in the farmhouse and their visiting friends, they were suddenly attacked by a group of small metallic-skinned beings. These creatures had large glowing yellow eyes, long arms that extended nearly to the ground, and ears that resembled bat wings. Witnesses claimed the beings moved in odd ways, floating or gliding rather than walking, and were impervious to gunfire. Despite the Suttons firing multiple rounds at them from rifles and shotguns, the creatures simply flipped or retreated without any visible injury. The standoff lasted hours. Witnesses reported seeing the goblin-like beings peeking into windows, climbing onto the roof, and appearing around the property repeatedly despite the family's attempts to drive them off. At one point, one of the beings was said to have reached down from the roof and touched a person's hair. Terrified, the group eventually fled the house and reported the incident to local law enforcement. When police and military officials arrived, they found evidence that something had occurred: bullet holes in walls, damaged screens, and genuinely shaken witnesses, but no creatures or spacecraft. Investigators scoured the area but found nothing conclusive. Later that night, after the authorities left, the beings reportedly returned and resumed their strange siege. By morning, the beings were gone, leaving behind a mystery that has persisted for decades. Skeptics have proposed numerous explanations over the years, including that the family mistook owls or raccoons for aliens, or that it was an elaborate hoax. However, the consistency and detail of the witness accounts given by multiple adults and children make it one of the more compelling and puzzling close encounters on record. The term goblins stuck largely due to the size and mischievous behavior of the beings, but many UFO researchers believe these were not folklore creatures but true extraterrestrials. Some suggest they were scouts from a landed craft hidden nearby, while others think the entire encounter was part of a psychological experiment or test. A few even link the beings to subterranean species that occasionally surface in rural or isolated areas. The Hopkinsville Goblins incident remains one of the best documented and most frightening alien encounters in American history. Whether extraterrestrial, interdimensional, or something stranger, these small, strange invaders gave us a rare glimpse into a type of contact that feels less like science fiction and more like a waking nightmare. Fire in the Sky incident. In 1975, a logging crew in Snowflake, Arizona, became part of one of the most infamous alien abduction cases ever recorded. Known today as the Fire in the Sky incident, it centers around Travis Walton, a 22-year-old logger who vanished without a trace after a blinding encounter with a UFO in the forest. His sudden disappearance and shocking reappearance 5 days later sparked a media firestorm, multiple investigations, and decades of speculation. On November 5, 1975, Walton and 6 fellow loggers were driving home after a long day of work when they spotted a glowing disc hovering silently in the woods. The object was described as metallic and saucer-shaped, emanating an eerie blue-green light. Against his crewmates' warnings, Walton stepped out of the truck and approached the object. Suddenly, a beam of light shot out and struck him. His body was thrown into the air and he fell unconscious. The crew panicked and fled. When they returned shortly after, Walton was gone. A massive manhunt ensued involving local authorities and search parties, but no trace of him could be found. The remaining crew members were interrogated and even given polygraph tests. Most passed. Law enforcement suspected foul play. Then, 5 days later, Walton reappeared, disoriented and traumatized, calling from a payphone miles away. His story would stun the world. According to Walton, he awoke inside a strange craft surrounded by short, humanoid beings with bald heads and large eyes. He described being paralyzed, examined, and restrained before eventually encountering more human-looking figures in a different part of the ship. These figures wore helmets and did not communicate with him. The experience ended abruptly and he found himself back on Earth with no idea how much time had passed. Walton's account has remained consistent over the decades and he has stood by his story despite intense media scrutiny and skepticism. His case gained further notoriety with the release of the 1993 film Fire in the Sky, which dramatized the events and introduced the case to a new generation of alien enthusiasts. Skeptics have offered alternative explanations including hallucination, psychological trauma, or even a hoax orchestrated by the crew. However, no solid evidence of deception has ever been uncovered. The consistency of the crew's testimonies and the lack of any clear motive for faking the incident continue to fuel debate. What makes the Fire in the Sky case so enduring is not just the abduction itself, but the emotional and psychological aftermath. Walton has never sought fame or profit beyond telling his story. To this day, he insists that what happened in those woods was real, and that we are not alone. The Pascagoula abduction. On the evening of October 11, 1973, 2 men, Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker, experienced one of the most terrifying and credible alien abduction events ever reported. The incident took place in Pascagoula, Mississippi, along the banks of the Pascagoula River. The encounter involved strange robotic creatures, lost time, and a deep psychological impact that would haunt the 2 men for the rest of their lives. Hickson and Parker were co-workers at a local shipyard and had gone fishing after their shift. As dusk settled, they noticed a strange glowing object descending from the sky. The craft was shaped like an oval, approximately 30 feet long, and emitted a bright blue light. As they watched in shock, a hatch opened and 3 entities floated silently toward them. These beings were unlike any other in abduction lore. They were roughly 5 feet tall with wrinkled gray skin, no necks, pointed carrot-like ears, and claw-like hands. Their legs seemed fused together and they hovered rather than walked. Before either man could react, they were paralyzed by an unknown force and lifted into the craft. Hickson later described the feeling as being in a trance or under anesthesia. Inside the ship, the 2 men were separated. Hickson reported being examined by a large, mechanical eye that seemed to scan his body. He experienced no pain but was overwhelmed by a sense of helplessness and dread. Parker, who was only 19 at the time, later said he passed out during most of the encounter but was left deeply traumatized. After what felt like minutes, both men were returned to the riverbank. The craft silently lifted off and disappeared into the night sky. In a panic, the men drove to the local sheriff's office and reported the incident. The authorities were skeptical but noticed the men were visibly shaken. Without their knowledge, police recorded their private conversation after the interview. Instead of discussing a hoax, the tape captured the two men sobbing and expressing genuine terror about what they had experienced. This audio recording became a key piece of evidence, convincing many investigators that the men truly believed what they had seen. Over the years, both Hickson and Parker were subjected to polygraph tests and hypnosis sessions. Hickson maintained his account until his death. Parker remained mostly silent for decades, fearing ridicule, but eventually came forward with a detailed version of his experience later in life. Unlike many alien encounters that involve humanoid figures, the Pascagoula beings were mechanical and inhuman. Some researchers theorized that they were robotic drones or biological automatons used for abduction missions. Others suggest they were an entirely different species altogether, one not concerned with human-like appearance or comfort. The Pascagoula abduction remains one of the most credible and well-documented cases in American UFO history. Its eerie, emotionless abductors and bizarre nature continue to unsettle even the most seasoned investigators. The Phoenix Lights on the night of March 13, 1997, thousands of people across Arizona, Nevada, and parts of northern Mexico witnessed one of the most massive and coordinated UFO sightings in history. Known today as the Phoenix Lights, this event has become one of the most compelling pieces of modern UFO lore, not just for the scale of the sighting but for the silence that followed from official sources. What people saw that night defied explanation and remains unsolved to this day. The first wave of sightings began around 7:30 p.m. near Henderson, Nevada, where witnesses described a large V-shaped object with 5 lights moving silently across the sky. As it passed into Arizona, more reports came flooding in from Prescott, Dewey, and Phoenix. Witnesses across hundreds of miles reported the same thing, a giant, slow-moving craft, sometimes described as a black triangle or boomerang, gliding silently above them at low altitude. Some said it was so big it blocked out the stars as it passed overhead. Others described orbs or smaller lights flying in formation with it. Unlike quick, fleeting UFO sightings, this object lingered. It was seen over multiple cities for more than 3 hours. People pulled over on highways, stood in their yards, and even filmed it with early home video cameras. While many recordings captured the lights themselves, none showed the body of the craft clearly, adding to the mystery. Still, the sheer number of witnesses, ranging from police officers to pilots to the governor of Arizona himself, was unprecedented. Then Governor Fife Symington initially mocked the incident, holding a press conference where a staffer dressed as an alien was brought out in handcuffs. Years later, however, Symington changed his tune. He revealed that he, too, had seen the object that night and described it as otherworldly. He claimed it was the most extraordinary thing he had ever seen and criticized the government's failure to investigate it seriously. The military later claimed that the lights were part of a flare drop exercise conducted by the Air National Guard. They suggested that A-10 Warthog planes had released flares during a training mission south of Phoenix, which created the illusion of a large object. While this may explain some of the stationary lights seen later in the night, it doesn't account for the massive V-shaped craft witnessed earlier or the reports from multiple cities hours before the flare drop. The Phoenix Lights are significant because they represent a rare case of mass UFO witnessing, an event observed by thousands with remarkably consistent descriptions. It wasn't a fleeting blur in the sky but a deliberate, visible movement of something vast and silent across populated areas. To this day, no definitive explanation has been given for what passed over Arizona that night. Whether a top-secret military craft, a coordinated extraterrestrial display, or something else entirely, the Phoenix Lights remain one of the most credible and unsettling UFO sightings in modern history. The Lubbock Lights in August 1951, residents of Lubbock, Texas, witnessed one of the earliest and most photographed UFO phenomena in American history. Known as the Lubbock Lights, this mysterious formation of lights captured the attention of scientists, the media, and the public, but still defies complete explanation. Unlike the dramatic crash or abduction stories, the Lubbock Lights were quiet, elusive, and strange in their own way. The sightings began on the night of August 25, when 3 Texas Tech University professors observed a V-shaped formation of around 15 to 20 glowing lights flying silently over the campus. The lights were described as small but bright, yellow or orange in color, and arranged in a precise pattern. Over the next several nights, other citizens reported seeing the same formation moving across the sky at high speed with no sound or visible means of propulsion. What made the Lubbock lights unique was that photographs were taken, some of the first clear UFO images ever recorded. These photos showed a cluster of small, glowing orbs arranged in a curved pattern against the dark night sky. The images were published in newspapers and magazines, sparking widespread public curiosity and government interest. The Air Force launched an investigation as part of Project Blue Book. Their official explanation suggested that the lights were caused by birds reflecting the city lights below, possibly plovers flying in formation. However, many witnesses, including the university professors, vehemently rejected this idea. The lights moved too fast, too precisely, and at altitudes that seemed impossible for birds. No wings or bodies were ever visible in the photographs. Other theories emerged, including secret experimental aircraft, atmospheric phenomena, or even extraterrestrial craft conducting reconnaissance. Despite decades of speculation, no definitive explanation has ever been universally accepted. The Lubbock lights remain a fascinating chapter in UFO history because they blend scientific observation, photographic evidence, and credible eyewitness testimony. They challenge skeptics to explain how such an unusual and sustained aerial phenomenon could be dismissed as mere birds. This incident helped lay the groundwork for future investigations and popularized the idea that some UFO sightings might be physical objects rather than optical illusions or hallucinations. Whether advanced technology from another world or an unknown natural phenomenon, the Lubbock lights continue to mystify and inspire. The Rendlesham Forest incident. In late December 1980, one of the most well-documented and perplexing UFO encounters took place in Rendlesham Forest near the twin Royal Air Force bases of Woodbridge and Bentwaters in Suffolk, England. This event has become known as Britain's Roswell and remains one of the most compelling military UFO cases in history. Over the course of 3 nights, several U.S. Air Force personnel stationed at the bases reported witnessing strange lights and an unidentified craft in the woods. On the first night, security guards noticed bright lights descending into the forest. When they investigated, they saw a glowing, triangular object hovering just above the ground. The craft emitted a pulsing light and left physical traces on the ground, including scorch marks and indentations. The next night, multiple witnesses saw mysterious lights darting through the trees, and some reported hearing strange metallic noises. Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, deputy base commander, arrived with a team to investigate. Halt recorded a now famous audio tape describing the phenomena, including beams of light shining down from the sky and the glowing object moving through the forest. The physical evidence was puzzling. Soil samples taken from the landing site showed elevated levels of radiation, and strange impressions remained in the soft earth. The incident was initially classified, but over time documents were released through the Freedom of Information Act, adding credibility to the witnesses' claims. Skeptics suggest the lights may have been misidentified stars, flashlights, or nearby lighthouse beams. However, the detailed testimonies, multiple witnesses, and physical evidence make this case difficult to dismiss. Rendlesham Forest has been the subject of intense debate, documentaries, and books. The incident remains a prime example of an encounter involving military personnel and physical evidence, making it one of the rare UFO events with substantial documentation and first-hand reports from trained observers. The Val Johnson incident. On the early morning of August 27, 1979, Deputy Sheriff Val Johnson was patrolling a rural area near Warren, Minnesota, when he experienced a close encounter that has since baffled investigators and UFO enthusiasts alike. Johnson's encounter involved a mysterious light and physical effects that still defy easy explanation. While driving down a quiet road, Johnson spotted a bright flash of light ahead. Believing it to be a vehicle, he slowed down but was suddenly blinded by an intense beam. According to his report, the light came from a glowing, cigar-shaped object hovering over the road. The object emitted a brilliant blue-white light and seemed to focus directly on his patrol car. The impact of the light caused Johnson to lose consciousness briefly. When he awoke, he found that his wristwatch and the clock on the dashboard had stopped, both showing the exact same time, minutes before the encounter. His car's windshield was cracked, and the vehicle itself had damage that suggested a collision had occurred, although no other vehicle or object was found nearby. Johnson suffered minor injuries including a bruised eye and face swelling but was otherwise unharmed. Multiple tests confirmed the physical damage to the patrol car and Johnson's injuries. The incident was thoroughly investigated by the Air Force and other agencies, but no definitive cause was identified. What makes the Val Johnson incident compelling is the combination of eyewitness testimony, physical evidence, and unexplained phenomena like stopped timepieces. It remains one of the most credible and mysterious close encounters involving law enforcement. Skeptics have proposed explanations such as a collision with a deer or atmospheric conditions causing illusions. However, these theories fail to fully account for the vehicle damage and stopwatches. The case continues to be cited as strong evidence that UFO encounters can have tangible effects on people and their surroundings. Val Johnson's experience remains a chilling reminder that some close encounters leave lasting marks beyond mere sightings. The Travis Walton abduction. On the evening of November 5, 1975, Travis Walton, a logger working in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest in Arizona, experienced one of the most famous alien abduction cases in history. Walton's disappearance and subsequent reappearance 5 days later sparked intense media coverage and public fascination. Walton and 6 co-workers were driving home from work when they noticed a bright, glowing object hovering above the trees. Against his friend's warnings, Walton approached the craft, which emitted a beam of light that struck him and knocked him unconscious. His co-workers, terrified, fled the scene and reported his disappearance to authorities. During the 5 days Walton was missing, search parties scoured the area but found no trace of him. When he suddenly reappeared, disoriented and injured, Walton described being taken aboard a spacecraft and subjected to medical examinations by small, humanoid beings. His story was met with both skepticism and intrigue. The 6 co-workers passed polygraph tests, supporting Walton's account, though some still believe the incident was a hoax. Despite this, Walton has consistently maintained his story and written books detailing his experience. The incident inspired the 1993 film Fire in the Sky, bringing the story to a wider audience and cementing it as a key moment in alien abduction lore. Whether true or fabricated, the Travis Walton abduction remains one of the most dramatic and well-documented close encounters with extraterrestrial beings. The Mothman is one of the most mysterious and terrifying cryptids linked to UFO lore and paranormal phenomena. First reported in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, in November 1966, this creature appeared to herald disaster and has since become a symbol of eerie warnings from beyond. Witnesses described the Mothman as a large humanoid figure standing 7 feet tall with broad wings spanning 10 feet or more. Its most chilling feature was its glowing red eyes that pierced the night. The creature was often seen near the TNT area, an abandoned World War II munitions site, where several reported sightings included loud, strange noises and an overwhelming feeling of dread. The Mothman sightings culminated in the tragic collapse of the Silver Bridge on December 15, 1967, which resulted in 46 deaths. Some locals believed the creature's appearances were a premonition of the disaster, a warning from an otherworldly force. Others suggested the Mothman might be an alien scout or interdimensional being monitoring human events. Adding to the mystery, numerous reports also mentioned strange flying objects seen in conjunction with the Mothman, linking it to UFO activity. Some theorists propose the Mothman is an alien cryptid or a hybrid creature with extraterrestrial origins. Despite various investigations and folklore, no definitive explanation for the Mothman has ever been found. It remains one of the most enduring and enigmatic figures in UFO and cryptid history. The Chupacabra, originating in Puerto Rico in the mid-1990s, the Chupacabra quickly became one of the most feared and debated cryptids associated with extraterrestrial and mysterious phenomena. Its name translates to goat sucker, referring to its notorious reputation for attacking livestock, especially goats, and draining their blood. Descriptions of the Chupacabra vary widely. Early reports describe it as a reptilian creature roughly 3 to 4 feet tall, covered in spines or quills, with glowing red eyes and sharp teeth. Some witnesses say it hops like a kangaroo, while others depict it as a hairless canine-like animal. Its sudden appearance coincided with a spike in livestock deaths across Latin America and parts of the southern United States. Many theories link the chupacabra to alien experimentation or genetic mutation. Some researchers suggest it might be the result of secret government bioengineering programs or hybrid creatures created by extraterrestrials studying Earth's wildlife. Others believe it could be an undiscovered species adapted to drain blood as a feeding method. The chupacabra's elusiveness and the gruesome nature of its attacks have made it a subject of fascination for cryptozoologists and UFO enthusiasts alike. While skeptics argue many sightings are misidentified wild animals, the creature's place in modern cryptid lore is undeniable. The black-eyed children, sometimes called black-eyed kids, are an eerie phenomenon that emerged in UFO and paranormal circles during the late 1990s. These mysterious figures are described as children or teenagers with pale skin and jet-black eyes lacking any visible sclera or iris. Their sudden and inexplicable appearances are often accompanied by intense feelings of dread and paranoia. Reports usually involve encounters where these children appear at the doorstep of homes, cars, or isolated areas, asking for help or permission to enter. Witnesses consistently describe a chilling aura emanating from them, causing an overwhelming fear that compels people to refuse interaction despite the children's polite or insistent requests. Some theorists believe the black-eyed children may be interdimensional beings or extraterrestrial entities using human-like forms to infiltrate our world. Others speculate they could be demonic or supernatural in origin, possibly linked to shadow people or other dark entities in folklore. Despite numerous sightings worldwide, there has been no physical evidence or verified photographs, which adds to their mystique. The stories continue to spread mainly through personal accounts, urban legends, and internet forums, fueling fascination and fear. Their cryptic nature and unsettling behavior place the black-eyed children among the most haunting alien cryptids in modern lore. The Ozark Howler. Deep in the dense forests of the Ozark Mountains, legends speak of a creature known as the Ozark Howler. This cryptid is often described as a terrifying hybrid between a bear, a wolf, and a panther, but with distinctly alien features that make it stand apart from ordinary wildlife. It has become one of the most mysterious and chilling cryptids tied to extraterrestrial lore in the United States. The Ozark Howler is said to be about 6 feet tall with jet-black fur, glowing red or yellow eyes, and large horns curving from its head, giving it a demonic silhouette. Witnesses describe its roar as an otherworldly howl that reverberates through the hills, unlike any animal sound known in the region. The creature is often spotted near remote farms, cabins, and logging roads, and its appearances are sometimes accompanied by strange lights or unexplained electronic disturbances. Locals have told stories of livestock found mutilated in gruesome ways, similar to alien cattle mutilations documented across the U.S. The howler is suspected by some researchers to be an alien cryptid or a genetically engineered hybrid, possibly the result of extraterrestrial experiments or interdimensional crossings. What sets the Ozark Howler apart is not just its fearsome physical description but its apparent immunity to conventional weapons. Hunters report that bullets seem to have no effect, and the creature disappears into the thick woods as if melting into shadows. Theories abound. Some say the howler is a guardian of alien bases hidden deep in the mountains. Others believe it to be a cryptid that slips between dimensions, appearing only when the veil between worlds is thin. Skeptics chalk it up to misidentified bears or mountain lions and local folklore amplified by fear. Regardless, the Ozark Howler remains a haunting figure of the wilderness, an alien presence lurking where most people feared to tread. The Fresno Nightcrawler. In the realm of alien cryptids, the Fresno Nightcrawler stands out as one of the most bizarre and elusive entities ever recorded. Unlike typical UFO beings, this cryptid is known primarily through eerie, grainy videos captured by security cameras in Fresno, California, in the early 2010s. The Nightcrawler appears as a slender, pale, humanoid figure with unnaturally long, thin legs and no visible arms or head. It moves in a smooth, gliding motion, almost like it's floating just above the ground. Its strange gait and otherworldly form have sparked theories that it might be an interdimensional being or an extraterrestrial scout designed to observe humans without direct contact. Witnesses who have reported seeing similar creatures in other parts of the United States often describe a feeling of unease and an inability to get close. The nightcrawler's unusual physiology defies earthly biology, leading some researchers to speculate that it might be a life form from a parallel universe or a genetic experiment gone awry. Unlike other cryptids, the Fresno nightcrawler seems to avoid confrontation and has never been associated with aggressive behavior. Its presence, however, is often accompanied by unexplained electrical disturbances and sudden drops in temperature. Skeptics argue the videos might be hoaxes or misidentifications of animals like birds or deer with deformities, but the consistency of sightings and the strange nature of the footage keeps the mystery alive. The Fresno nightcrawler remains a chilling example of how alien cryptids can challenge our understanding of life and reality itself. The Crawfordsville serpent in 1891, long before the UFO craze took over the 20th century, the small town of Crawfordsville, Indiana, experienced a bizarre aerial encounter that many now consider an early alien cryptid sighting. Residents reported seeing a massive, writhing creature in the sky, an organic, flying entity that emitted mechanical noises and hovered without wings or propulsion. It became known as the Crawfordsville serpent, and it has baffled historians, cryptozoologists, and UFO researchers ever since. Witnesses described the creature as a pale, undulating mass nearly 20 feet long and 8 feet wide. It had no discernible eyes, mouth, or wings, but its movements were purposeful and snake-like, as if it was swimming through the air. As it passed overhead, it let out wheezing or gasping sounds, almost like it was struggling to breathe in Earth's atmosphere. Horses panicked. People ran indoors. Entire crowds watched it drift silently over rooftops, vanishing and reappearing across the town. The local newspaper reported on the phenomenon with eyewitness sketches, and for days, the town was in a frenzy. Although some later claimed it may have been a flock of birds tangled in fog or mist, that explanation didn't account for the solid body or the mechanical breathing. More recent interpretations suggest it may have been a biological drone or scout, a living alien probe, sent to monitor life below. What's especially strange is that this sighting happened decades before powered flight and long before the term UFO existed. Some have theorized that the Crawfordsville serpent is related to sky beasts, or atmospheric cryptids, lifeforms that live in the upper atmosphere or beyond the veil of human perception. Whatever it was, the serpent never returned, and no remains were ever found. But the fear and awe it inspired still echo through cryptid and UFO lore. In an age with no special effects and no aircraft, something truly alien slithered through the Indiana sky and vanished. The Eridanian mirror beasts in the high desert basin of Nevada, far beyond the borders of Area 51, there are whispered stories among old ranching families and forgotten military contractors. Stories of beings that do not arrive in ships, but instead step through reflections. Known in underground circles as the Eridanian mirror beasts, these entities are said to be intelligent, non-corporeal lifeforms originating from a dimension adjacent to our own, connected through a phenomenon researchers call reflective phase bleeding. The first major sighting came from an underground facility technician in 1984 who claimed to see his own reflection in a sealed observation window, only for it to blink independently. The technician reported that the reflected version of himself grinned before stepping out of the glass entirely, morphing into a shimmering, bipedal form with crystalline skin and hollow eyes like obsidian voids. Other sightings have followed a pattern. The creatures are first seen in distorted reflections, mirrors, puddles, glass displays, and then manifest physically for only a few minutes before dematerializing. When they appear in our world, they don't speak, but emit low-frequency hums that interfere with electronics, often shutting down lights, cameras, or entire engines in the area. One chilling encounter from 2003 involved a survivalist in rural Nevada who claimed one of the mirror beasts appeared in a broken rearview mirror while he was repairing a rusted pickup. The creature emerged behind him, watched silently, and then folded itself back into the mirror as if melting through silver. Some theories suggest these are advanced scouts from a civilization in the Eridanus supervoid, using reflective surfaces as dimensional doorways. Others believe they're artificial intelligences built from photonic material, programmed to study Earth discreetly, avoiding direct contact but collecting data through mimicry and reflection. The name, mirror beasts, comes not from their behavior, but from their tendency to assume the shape of the observer before revealing their true form. They leave no physical trace except for a strange residue, thin streaks of black dust on mirrored surfaces that resist chemical analysis and sometimes pulse faintly in ultraviolet light. No official agency acknowledges their existence, but contractors who've worked on black-budget surveillance programs insist that special mirrors are installed in deep testing sites not for human use, but as lures and barriers to these entities. One retired colonel allegedly called them, "the only thing we've seen that doesn't come from the sky, but from beside us." The Eridanian mirror beasts remain unclassified, undetected by most instruments, and entirely misunderstood. But those who've seen them are left with one unsettling truth: they're not trying to enter our world, they're watching to see if we're ready to enter theirs. The harbingers of Vela in the frozen wastelands of Antarctica, beyond the gaze of satellites and far from any nation's jurisdiction, a chilling secret has remained buried since 1979. That year, American surveillance satellites detected a mysterious double flash over the southern Indian Ocean. It looked exactly like the signature of a nuclear detonation. But no country claimed responsibility. There was no fallout. No shockwave. Just silence. Soon after, a covert scientific team was dispatched to the area, disguised as climate researchers. What they found wasn't a detonation site. It was something far stranger. A crater in the ice, perfectly circular, surrounded by a ring of hexagonal patterns that glowed faintly when viewed through infrared lenses. At the center was a half-buried object, dark, smooth, and curved like a massive bent ring. It pulsed with a deep, low vibration that made the ice around it tremble ever so slightly. And then the sightings began. Crew members started reporting strange figures on the edges of camp. Tall, spindly shapes with translucent skin and veins that shimmered like bioluminescent light. They didn't move like humans. They didn't speak. They just watched. Unblinking. Motionless. Always just beyond the perimeter, as if studying everything. Electronic devices malfunctioned whenever they got close. Batteries drained. Clocks froze. One man reported seeing one of them in broad daylight. He walked into the structure to get closer, and never came back out. Not a single footprint. Not a scrap of clothing. Gone. The remaining scientists started calling them the harbingers. They don't harm anyone. They don't interact. They just appear when something is coming. One showed up the night before a massive ice shelf collapse. Another appeared during an unexpected solar flare that knocked out communications. According to recovered notes from the team's journals, the harbingers seemed to arrive in advance of disasters, as if they're warning signs. Or maybe just observers. Some theorists believe they're ancient alien sentinels, lifeforms seated on worlds like Earth to watch for signs of collapse. Others think they are the collapse. That their presence marks not a warning but a countdown. And that structure in the ice? It might not be alien technology. It might be alive. In the early 2000s, new satellite photos showed the area once again glowing faintly, even deeper under the ice. But nobody went back. The site is now restricted by multiple world governments. Officially, it doesn't exist. So if you ever find yourself far from civilization and the world suddenly goes quiet, and you see a tall glowing figure watching from the edge of the woods or the edge of a storm, don't wait for a sign. That is the sign. The Sky Valley bloomed out in the deserts of New Mexico, not far from where the Sandia Mountains cast their long shadow. There's a place locals refuse to enter after dark. They call it Sky Valley, a dry basin surrounded by jagged red rocks and brittle brush. It looks ordinary enough during the day. But at night, people say the sky blooms. It begins with a soft, humming sound. Not mechanical. Not natural. Something in between. Then the sky turns the color of melted gold and blue fire. Not in the whole sky, just a perfect circular patch above the basin. Locals who've seen it say it pulses like a heartbeat, spreading out in concentric waves. Birds fall silent. Coyotes stop howling. The air becomes thick, like syrup. Some say even time slows. And then the figures appear. Not from the sky, but from beneath the ground. Witnesses describe them as impossibly thin beings with bodies like pale glass and veins of violet light running through them. They rise from the soil as if pulled up by invisible strings. No tools, no craft. Just these things standing upright in the glowing gloom. No one has ever heard them speak. But some say they feel emotions when they're near, floods of fear, sorrow, or joy that don't belong to them. One hiker described feeling overwhelming nostalgia for a memory he never had. Another man couldn't remember his own name for 3 days after seeing one of the figures from a distance. The military has shown interest in the area. There are rumors of black helicopters and vans with no plates. Equipment disappears. Trail cameras go dead. But they've never stopped the bloom. It still happens, usually once a year, usually in spring. Theories are all over the place. Some believe Sky Valley is a natural dimensional breach. Others think it's a memory well, an ancient alien site that projects emotional echoes into the minds of anyone nearby. A few even say the creatures aren't aliens at all, but manifestations of a planet dreaming about its past. But no one has answers. Only warnings. If you ever find yourself hiking near Sky Valley and the sky starts to pulse, leave. Don't watch it. Don't stay curious. Because whatever's blooming in that sky isn't for us. And it never was. The Hollow Man of Dalakai Ridge in the fog-choked valleys of northern Pakistan. Nestled among ancient trails no longer marked on maps, there is a place that shepherds pass in silence. They avoid looking up toward a high, weathered ridge that locals call Dalakai. It is not the terrain that scares them. It is the thing that lives there. They call it the Hollow Man. For generations, villagers have told stories about a tall figure that wanders the upper ridge during the cold season. Not every year. Not even every decade. But when the Hollow Man appears, people vanish. Not just physically, but entirely. Their names fade from memories. Their homes fall quiet and untouched, as if no one ever lived in them. Witnesses who survived the ridge describe a creature that does not walk, but glides across the stone like it weighs nothing. Its body is elongated and thin, with limbs that bend in strange ways, like they are held together by wire or smoke. Its skin is pale and smooth, not like flesh, but more like fog held in the shape of a man. And its face, if it even has one, holds a strange indentation in the center, like a tunnel that leads to somewhere else. Some say if you stare into that void where its face should be, you hear a sound that is not meant for your ears. It is not screaming. It is not speaking. It is something older. A sound that makes your bones go cold and your memories flicker. A sound that makes you forget who you are. One local elder told a story about a British soldier who went up the ridge in 1942. He never came back. When the villagers went looking, they found his rifle buried in the dirt and his uniform neatly folded on a stone slab. His name was scratched into the rock beside it, then crossed out. No record of him remains in any military archive. Modern researchers who visit the area sometimes report strange compass interference and sudden memory loss, as if entire hours disappear. One man found recordings on his device he never remembered making, audio of his own voice whispering in a language he did not speak. Theories vary. Some say the Hollow Man is an alien observer that does not need ships or lights. Others believe it is a parasite from another dimension that feeds on memory and identity. A few more mystical explanations suggest the Hollow Man is time itself, given form, wandering alone and hungry in the high air. Whatever the truth is, the people of Dalakai Ridge do not seek it. They just warn visitors with one phrase: do not look into the hollow. Because if you do, it may start to look back. The Ashmore visitor in 1987, a lone hiker named Eleanor Haynes went missing for 5 days in the Ashmore Dales, a remote and fog-drenched stretch of moorland in northern England. When she returned, barefoot and disoriented, she had no memory of where she'd been. But she could describe, in exacting detail, the being she said she met. And that's where the legend of the Ashmore visitor began. According to Eleanor, she encountered the figure in the early morning just after sunrise. The fog had thickened so much she couldn't see the ground beneath her feet. Then, through the mist, she saw it. A tall, slender figure standing completely still in a shallow hollow between two moss-covered stones. Its body shimmered like heat off pavement, and its skin looked more like translucent fabric than anything organic. What struck her most wasn't its shape, but the way the air changed around it. Everything went quiet. Not just sound, thought. She stopped thinking. Her memories faded. The only thing that remained was the figure's presence and a gentle sound like rain falling on glass. She doesn't remember leaving the spot. She only remembers waking up 5 days later, 30 miles away, wrapped in a silver thermal sheet that didn't belong to her. A local farmer found her. Her shoes were gone. Her hair had turned completely white at the roots. And carved into her forearm, in a language no one could identify, were 5 symbols that faded over the next week. That area of the moor has long been known for strange activity. Locals talk about flocks of birds that fly in circles above the same patch of ground, never landing. Old sheep herders speak of cold spots that appear without warning and whispers that follow you even when you are alone. Since Eleanor's case, there have been others. A mountain rescue worker reported seeing a tall glowing shape on his infrared tracker, except nothing was there when he turned on his flashlight. Another hiker found a stone buried in the mud with the same 5 symbols Eleanor had, scorched black on its surface as if seared by lightning. Some researchers believe the Ashmore visitor is not a creature but a projection, an autonomous energy field left behind by something that is no longer there. Others argue it's an intelligent presence, slowly interacting with people who pass through that thin part of the world. A few go as far as claiming it's a consciousness, one that doesn't live inside a body, but inside time itself. Whatever it is, the moors remain untouched by tourism and unexplored by any official effort. Locals say the land won't allow it. Maps go wrong. Roads vanish. The fog moves like it knows where you're going. And sometimes, if you're there just before sunrise, you'll see a ripple in the air where something is standing still, waiting. But only if you're not thinking. The Black Dune anomaly in the heart of the Rub al-Khali Desert, also known as the Empty Quarter. There is a dune that appears on no satellite image, no geological survey, and no historical map. Bedouin call it the Silent One. Researchers who've heard about it refer to it as the Black Dune. And the few who've tried to find it all say the same thing. It finds you, not the other way around. The story begins with a team of oil surveyors in 1999. While performing routine scans near a dry plateau, their equipment picked up an enormous heat signature moving slowly beneath the sand. At first, they thought it was a tectonic anomaly or even a malfunction. But within an hour, every piece of machinery failed. Their GPS spun in circles. Batteries drained to zero. And then the sand began to darken. What rose out of the landscape was a perfect black slope, smooth as obsidian, taller than a 3-story building. No footsteps marked its surface. The temperature near it dropped by 20 degrees. And worst of all, the air around it felt like it was pressing inward, like a quiet suction pulling not just at sound, but at thought. One of the surveyors wandered toward the dune and never came back. The others fled. When they returned a day later with a military escort, the dune was gone. Not a trace. Not even a ripple in the sand. Since then, more reports have surfaced. Camel herders spotting flickers of dark mass on the horizon. Explorers going missing in areas where compasses spin and shadows move the wrong way. A drone pilot in 2015 captured 30 seconds of footage showing a massive black dune appearing and disappearing in bursts, as if it was blinking in and out of our world. Some believe it is not a dune at all, but a dormant biological machine. An alien organism made to camouflage itself as terrain. Others think it is a trap, an ancient site left by beings who once seeded the earth and marked this place as forbidden. The most fringe theory claims it's a wormhole, an anchor point where the rules of space fold in on themselves, allowing something to step through. Something that is not meant to be seen. Whatever the Black Dune is, no one has been able to capture it twice. It does not remain in one place. It does not want to be studied. And those who go searching for it tend to disappear, not violently, not suddenly, just quietly. As if they walked a little too close to the edge of something that was not quite land. And slipped through. The shadow nexus deep beneath the surface of the Siberian tundra lies a place few dare to explore, a massive underground cavern system known only through fragmented satellite scans and intercepted communications. Locals call it the Shadow Nexus, a name whispered in fear by nomadic tribes who believe it is a gateway. But a gateway to what is unknown. The entrance is hidden beneath layers of permafrost, and those who have stumbled upon it report a sudden drop in temperature, a silence so thick it drowns out even the loudest noises. More unsettling are the strange lights, dark pulses of shadowy energy that ripple like ink spreading in water, flickering just beyond sight. Over the last decade, Russian scientific teams sent to investigate have vanished without a trace. One drone feed captured a brief glimpse inside the cavern, a swirling mass of black shapes, writhing and shifting like living smoke, occasionally coalescing into humanoid forms with hollow eyes that seem to burn through the camera lens. Reports describe a terrible sensation when approaching the Nexus, a creeping despair that seeps into the mind, erasing memories and distorting reality. Many survivors from failed expeditions speak of time loops, being trapped in the cavern for days, reliving the same terrifying moments over and over before finally escaping, changed forever. Some theorize the Shadow Nexus is a dimensional rift, a bleeding point where the boundaries between our world and another collapse. Others believe it is a prison or a breeding ground for entities not meant to exist here. The ones seen flickering within appear to be intelligent, stalking shadows with malevolent intent. Government agencies deny any knowledge, and satellite images are heavily redacted or mysteriously corrupted in the area. But indigenous shamans warn travelers, to look too long into the Shadow Nexus is to invite its darkness into your soul. If you ever find yourself drawn to a place where the shadows move on their own and the air tastes like forgotten memories, walk away. Because once the Nexus marks you, it never lets go. The wraiths of Lake Kivu. In the heart of Africa's Great Rift Valley lies Lake Kivu, a vast body of water bordered by dense forests and towering volcanoes. But beneath its shimmering surface and tranquil beauty lurks a dark secret, one told in hushed tones by locals who call them the wraiths of Lake Kivu. These beings are said to be tall, gaunt figures with skin like wet clay, eyes glowing faintly with an unnatural blue light. They move silently across the water's surface, often seen standing motionless just at the lake's edge, watching travelers with an unsettling stillness. Those who've dared to approach report a creeping cold that spreads from their feet to their chest, as if the water itself is reaching out to claim them. Stories tell of fishermen disappearing without a trace and boats found adrift with no crew. Survivors speak of voices, low, whispering sounds carried by the wind, promising safety but delivering something far worse. Some who survived claim the wraiths can reach inside a person's mind, feeding on fear and regret until the victim becomes lost to madness or silence. Scientists have investigated strange electromagnetic readings near the lake, and reports of odd, flickering lights beneath the water. Some hypothesize these creatures could be aquatic alien entities or interdimensional predators using the lake as a hunting ground. Others believe they are spirits bound to the lake after ancient catastrophes. What sets the wraiths apart is their ability to appear and vanish at will, and the eerie sensation that they are not bound by physical laws. Boats have been found frozen in place, as if caught in invisible nets, and witnesses describe a heavy fog that blankets the lake during sightings, muffling all sound. The local tribes warn outsiders, do not look into their eyes. Because once they lock onto you, they will follow, not just across the water, but into your dreams and thoughts. And no one escapes the wraiths of Lake Kivu untouched. The crimson lanterns of Aokigahara. At the base of Mount Fuji lies Aokigahara, the infamous sea of trees, a forest known for its thick canopy and chilling silence. While many know its dark reputation for tragedy, few speak of the crimson lanterns that appear after dusk, a terrifying alien cryptid phenomenon whispered about among local guides and night hikers. These crimson lanterns are said to be glowing orbs of deep red light that float silently between the trees. They are not fireflies or natural phosphorescence. Witnesses describe them as almost alive, pulsing with a heartbeat rhythm and moving deliberately, weaving through the forest like hunters stalking prey. What makes these lights horrifying is that when one draws close, it reveals a twisted, half-seen form, a creature vaguely humanoid but distorted beyond comprehension. Its skin seems molten, dripping with a dark, tar-like substance, and its eyes burn with cold fire. The lanterns are not just lights, they are these beings, partially cloaked in energy, using the glow as bait. Travelers who follow the lights often become hopelessly lost, trapped in a maze of twisted roots and shadows that shift and close behind them. Many never return. Those who do come back speak of agonizing whispers that echo through the forest, promising release and salvation, only to twist into curses and madness. A local legend claims the lanterns are alien entities feeding off human despair, drawn to places heavy with sorrow. Some say they are remnants of an ancient extraterrestrial experiment gone wrong, trapped between dimensions and feeding on emotions to survive. Scientists have found abnormal energy readings in Aokigahara at night, but no equipment can capture or hold an image of the lanterns for more than a moment. Cameras malfunction, batteries drain, and compasses spin wildly. The most terrifying reports come from search and rescue teams who claim that after encountering the lanterns, some members exhibited strange behaviors, muted voices, erratic movements, and sudden violent outbursts before disappearing entirely. If you ever hear the faint pulse of a crimson light deep in a forest, don't follow it. Because sometimes, what looks like a lantern is the last thing you'll ever see. The Black Spiral of Blackwood Forest stretches for miles on the outskirts of a small town in the Scottish Highlands. The locals avoid it, especially after sunset, and for good reason. For centuries, people have reported seeing a strange phenomenon known as the Black Spiral, a twisting, dark vortex that appears deep within the trees. The spiral is said to be a swirling mass of shadow and fog, sometimes visible from a distance as a column of black smoke, but never billowing or drifting like natural smoke. It spins slowly, hypnotically, and seems to suck in light and sound, creating a zone of complete silence around it. Those who have ventured too close report an overwhelming sense of dread, as if something inside the spiral is watching and waiting. Several hikers have disappeared without a trace after approaching the spiral, while others who survived speak of slipping through layers of reality itself. They describe feeling weightless, time fragmenting, and hearing faint voices calling them from beyond. Some say they saw glimpses of otherworldly landscapes, endless skies filled with stars that blink sideways and colors no human eyes should see. One chilling account came from a forestry worker who accidentally stumbled upon the spiral during a night patrol. He swore he saw shadowy figures rise from the vortex, tall, faceless entities made of pure darkness. They reached out with tendrils of smoke and pulled him closer, but somehow he broke free and escaped. Since that night, he suffers from terrifying nightmares and unexplained blackouts. Paranormal investigators and scientists alike have tried to study the Black Spiral. Magnetic fields spike dangerously near it. Electronic devices fail instantly. Some believe the spiral is a rift between dimensions, a portal where alien creatures slip through to observe or even hunt. Others think it's a form of sentient darkness, an ancient alien presence feeding on fear and reality itself. No one knows what lies at the center of the spiral. Some say it's empty, just a void. Others believe something waits there, watching patiently, ready to step out and claim the world. If you ever find yourself in Blackwood Forest after dark and see a twisting shadow spiraling in the distance, don't look away. And don't run. Because the spiral doesn't just pull on the body. It pulls on the soul. The silent ones of Tanger Woods, deep in the dense forests of northern Spain, near the border with France, there is a stretch of woodland known locally as Tanger Woods. It is a place of thick moss, ancient trees, and almost complete silence. Not because the forest is empty, far from it, but because of the beings that live there, known only as the Silent Ones. Descriptions vary, but nearly everyone who claims to have encountered them tells the same chilling story. These creatures are tall, almost skeletal figures with pale, translucent skin stretched tight over elongated limbs. Their eyes are pitch black, reflecting no light, and their movements are unnervingly slow and deliberate. But the most terrifying part is their silence, not a sound, not a whisper. They communicate through gestures and a strange form of telepathy that invades the mind without warning. People who enter Tanger Woods often report losing their sense of direction and time. GPS devices and compasses fail, and radios crackle with static before cutting out completely. Those who spend too long in the woods start to hear faint voices in their heads, pleas, commands, sometimes indistinguishable screams. These voices grow louder the closer one gets to the Silent Ones. Locals believe the creatures are alien sentinels planted long ago to guard something hidden beneath the forest floor, an ancient artifact or a portal to another realm. Some say the Silent Ones are the remnants of a failed colonization, left behind to watch and wait. Others think they are neither living nor dead but a kind of energy that feeds on fear and silence itself. One haunting tale comes from a lost hiker who was found wandering near the edge of the woods, unable to speak and with strange, geometric scars etched into his arms. He refused to talk about what he saw, but his eyes held a look of utter terror that never left him. Scientists who have tried to investigate Tanger Woods are met with unexplained equipment failures and sudden fog that blankets the area, making any search impossible. The government has officially dismissed most reports as folklore, but satellite images show abnormal heat signatures and strange patterns beneath the forest canopy. If you ever find yourself near Tanger Woods and hear the sudden hush of the forest, beware. The silent ones might be watching you already. And once they start speaking in your mind, there is no turning back. The glasswalkers of the Namib. Along the windswept dunes of the Namib Desert in southern Africa, there is a strange and deadly phenomenon known as the glasswalkers. They get their name from the way the desert floor seems to shimmer and crack underfoot, as if made of fragile glass. Travelers who have crossed the area report a feeling of being watched by unseen eyes, and sometimes, they catch glimpses of pale, ghost-like figures moving just beyond the heat haze. These glasswalkers are said to be tall and thin, almost translucent, with skin that reflects the blinding sun like shards of broken glass. Their movements are jerky, unnatural, as if they are only partially tethered to this world. Witnesses say their eyes glow faintly, like tiny shards of ice, and that their presence causes the temperature to drop suddenly, enough to freeze the breath in the air. Local tribes speak of them as spirits of the desert, ancient guardians of secrets buried deep beneath the sands. But others whisper a darker truth, that the glasswalkers are not spirits at all, but alien creatures stranded here long ago, trapped between dimensions and slowly losing their grip on reality. Survivors who encountered the glasswalkers tell of an overwhelming silence that follows them, no wind, no animal sounds, just an eerie stillness. They describe an intense pressure in their heads, like the desert itself is trying to erase them from existence. Some have even claimed that the glasswalkers can enter dreams, planting visions of endless deserts and broken mirrors until their victims lose their minds. Expeditions sent to study the area often return with distorted photographs, missing equipment, and strange burns on their skin that heal slowly and leave glass-like scars. The desert floor itself sometimes cracks open in strange patterns, revealing glimpses of shimmering tunnels that pulse with unknown energy. No one knows where the glasswalkers came from or what they want. All that is certain is that those who wandered too close rarely come back the same, or at all. If you find yourself in the Namib Desert and the ground beneath you starts to glitter unnaturally, beware. The glasswalkers may already be watching. The echo beasts of Marrow Hollow. In the dense, tangled forests of Appalachia, there's a valley locals call Marrow Hollow. It's named not for any bone-shaped rock or ancient burial ground, but for the eerie way sounds behave there, like echoes trapped inside a deep well, distorted and stretched beyond recognition. But Marrow Hollow holds more than strange acoustics. It is home to creatures known as the echo beasts. Few have seen them directly, but their presence is undeniable. They are said to be enormous, shadowy figures with flickering outlines, as if their bodies are made of shifting smoke or broken reflections. The most terrifying aspect of the echo beasts is how they use sound. Victims report hearing voices, some familiar, some completely alien, that call out from the darkness. The voices mimic loved ones, friends, even the victim's own voice, pulling them deeper into the forest. Hikers have followed these sounds only to disappear without a trace, their cries swallowed by the trees. Survivors describe a crushing silence falling suddenly, as if the forest itself has stopped breathing. They feel their own voices strangled inside their throats, trapped by an unseen force. One man who escaped after 3 days lost all sense of time and direction, wandering in circles before collapsing from exhaustion. Scientists visiting Marrow Hollow found bizarre anomalies, sound waves behaving unpredictably, with some frequencies amplified and others completely erased. Electronic devices malfunctioned, and compasses spun wildly. Folklore says the echo beasts are ancient entities, born from the pain of forgotten tragedies and bound to the valley by some cosmic sorrow. Others believe they are interdimensional predators, hunting through sound to trap their prey. If you ever hear your name whispered from the shadows in Marrow Hollow, don't answer. Because the echo beasts are listening. And they will come for you. The Forgotten Ones of Isla Sombra, far off the coast of South America, shrouded in thick fog and treacherous seas, lies Isla Sombra, a place so remote that it barely appears on nautical charts. Fishermen tell tales of strange lights flickering near the shore and eerie sounds echoing across the waves at night. But the real terror lies beneath the island's dense jungle canopy. Locals speak of the Forgotten Ones, ancient creatures said to dwell deep within the island's heart. These beings are described as squat and grotesque, with mottled gray skin that blends seamlessly into the moss and stone around them. Their eyes are small and pitch black, devoid of any emotion or recognition. What sets the Forgotten Ones apart is their unsettling silence. They never make a sound, yet their presence is palpable, an oppressive weight that crushes hope and willpower. Travelers who have wandered too far into the jungle report losing their sense of time, feeling watched even when they cannot see their watchers. One expedition sent to study the island's flora vanished without a trace. Their last radio transmission was a panicked whisper, "They are here. We cannot escape." Those who claim to have glimpsed the Forgotten Ones say the creatures move in sudden bursts, darting between shadows like living ghosts. They seem to have an unnatural control over the environment. Plants wither at their approach, and animals flee in terror. Scientists remain baffled, unable to explain why satellite images show patches of the jungle seemingly erased, as if the island itself is consuming parts of its own land. Some speculate the Forgotten Ones are alien lifeforms trapped on Earth, adapting to the dense jungle and hiding from the rest of the world. Others believe they are guardians, protectors of something hidden beneath the island's soil, perhaps a secret humanity was never meant to uncover. If you ever sail near Isla Sombra and the fog grows unnaturally thick, turn away. Because once the Forgotten Ones mark you, the island will not let you leave. The Veilwalkers of the Patagonian steppe across the vast, windswept plains of Patagonia, where the cold wind cuts like a blade and the sky stretches endlessly, there is an ancient mystery few speak of outside of local legend. They call them the Veilwalkers, creatures said to exist just beyond the edge of perception, slipping between this world and the next. Ranchers and herders tell stories of shadowy figures that appear at dusk, tall and thin, cloaked in shifting layers of mist and light. They do not walk on the earth but glide silently above it, leaving no footprints or marks. Their faces are blurred, impossible to focus on, like looking through fogged glass. When one is near, the air grows heavy and tastes metallic, and even animals become restless and fearful. Witnesses describe an overwhelming sense of disconnection, as if the world around them is suddenly distorted. Time seems to stretch or collapse, voices echo strangely, and the stars above flicker in impossible patterns. Some who have stared too long into the Veilwalkers' blurred faces claim to have glimpsed visions of other worlds, twisted landscapes, endless skies filled with impossible constellations, and creatures that defy description. Travelers who disappear in the Patagonian steppe often vanish without a trace, leaving behind only whispered warnings about the Veilwalkers and the strange, shimmering veil they seem to carry with them. Some say these beings are alien explorers, studying Earth through a filter that separates their reality from ours. Others believe the Veilwalkers are lost souls, trapped between life and death, forever drifting on the winds. Local shamans warn, if you see the veil shimmer and hear the faint rustle of fabric on the breeze, do not follow. Because stepping through the veil means crossing a threshold you might never return from. The silent spires of Iztlan, deep in the remote jungles of southern Mexico, beyond where any road leads, lie the silent spires, ancient, towering stone structures unlike anything archaeologists have documented. Covered in moss and carved with strange, unreadable symbols, they rise from the canopy like frozen sentinels guarding secrets older than civilization itself. Local indigenous tribes tell of visitors, creatures they call the Silent Ones, who dwell among the spires. These beings are described as tall, slender figures wrapped in cloaks of shifting shadow. Their faces are hidden beneath smooth, featureless masks, and their presence carries a chilling stillness, as if the air itself holds its breath when they are near. According to legend, the Silent Ones arrived long before humans walked the jungle. They do not speak, but communicate through a language of thought and emotion, sharing visions of distant stars and forgotten worlds. Some shamans say they are watchers, monitoring the balance between Earth and the cosmos. Visitors who have stumbled upon the spires report strange phenomena, time bending, compasses spinning wildly, and a sensation of being pulled deeper into the forest by unseen hands. cameras malfunction, and electronic devices die without explanation. Those who linger too long describe hearing whispers in a tongue that scrapes at the edges of sanity. One explorer who managed to escape spoke of a chilling encounter. Standing before one of the spires, the silent ones revealed glimpses of the future, terrifying and unknowable. Days later, the explorer vanished without a trace, leaving only a journal filled with frantic sketches and cryptic warnings. Scientists remain baffled by the silent spires, unable to explain their origin or purpose. Some speculate they are alien outposts, others believe they are ancient gateways between dimensions. What is clear is that the jungle guards its secrets fiercely, and the silent ones remain ever watchful. If you ever find yourself lost among the towering stones of Istlan, heed the silence. Because some watchers never blink, and some doors should never be opened. The mirror shades of Lake Baikal. Deep within the Siberian wilderness lies Lake Baikal, the world's deepest freshwater lake. Known for its crystal-clear waters and ancient mysteries, Baikal hides a darker secret beneath its surface, creatures the locals call the mirror shades. Described as tall, slender figures with skin like reflective glass, the mirror shades move silently beneath the lake's icy depths. They never surface, but fishermen speak of strange ripples and distortions in the water where they swim, as if reality itself warps around them. Their eyes are said to glow faintly with a cold light, reflecting the fears of those who look into them. Those who have had close encounters report intense hallucinations and disorientation. Boats lose their way, compasses spin wildly, and time seems to fracture. Some claim the shades can slip between dimensions, reaching out to touch the minds of the living, pulling them into watery realms where the laws of physics no longer apply. In 2006, a scientific dive team exploring an uncharted cave system beneath Baikal sent back chilling footage before losing contact. The last frames showed shadowy figures moving just beyond the lights, their reflections visible in the crystalline water but with no physical form. Local shamans warn that the mirror shades are guardians of an ancient portal beneath the lake, a passage between worlds that must never be disturbed. Those who disrespect the lake or its creatures risk being pulled beneath, their bodies never recovered. Whether alien entities, ancient spirits, or something else entirely, the mirror shades remain one of Siberia's darkest enigmas. Silent watchers in the depths, waiting patiently beneath the frozen surface. The phantom swarm of the Gobi Desert, vast and unforgiving, is known for its brutal winds and shifting sands. But travelers speak in hushed tones about something far more sinister, the phantom swarm. Unlike any known insect or animal, this swarm appears suddenly as a cloud of black, flickering shadows that move with uncanny intelligence. Witnesses describe the swarm as a living shadow, swirling with purpose and able to change shape at will. Sometimes it takes the form of a massive black tornado, other times, it condenses into humanoid silhouettes that seem to watch and mimic those who stare too long. The phantom swarm emits no sound, but people nearby report a creeping sense of paralysis and overwhelming dread. Electronics fail, compasses spin wildly, and GPS signals disappear. Those caught within the swarms experience vivid hallucinations, visions of endless deserts lit by unfamiliar stars and alien skies filled with impossible constellations. Nomads tell stories of caravans vanishing without a trace after encountering the swarm. Survivors speak of losing days, even weeks, trapped in nightmarish loops of desert and shadow. Some believe the phantom swarm is a collective consciousness of alien origin, scouting or hunting on Earth. Others think it is a manifestation of the desert itself, a sentient storm born from the planet's deep core. No one knows how to stop the swarm or escape its gaze. When it appears, there is only one rule: do not look directly into the shadows. Because the swarm remembers. And it never forgets. The Shardwalkers of the Atacama. In the driest place on Earth, the Atacama Desert, there are legends of strange beings called the Shardwalkers. These creatures are said to be covered in jagged, crystalline structures that reflect the harsh sunlight in blinding flashes. Locals describe them as silent predators that glide over the cracked salt flats, their movements sharp and unnatural like breaking glass. Travelers who've encountered the Shardwalkers report a feeling of intense vertigo and disorientation. Compasses spin wildly, and the air feels electrically charged, making skin tingle painfully. The creatures emit no noise but seem to communicate with bursts of flickering light that resemble broken mirrors shattering in the sky. One expedition found the remains of animals that appeared to have been shattered from the inside out, the bones fractured into sharp shards as if they were crystalline sculptures. No blood was found, only strange crystalline residue that glowed faintly under ultraviolet light. Scientists investigating the desert have recorded unusual electromagnetic pulses and temporary shifts in gravity near reported sightings. Some speculate the shardwalkers are extraterrestrial lifeforms adapted to survive in extreme conditions, while others fear they might be biomechanical hunters, sent to cleanse the planet of certain lifeforms. Those who get too close often vanish without a trace, leaving behind only shards of glass-like material and faint, flickering lights that dance in the distance. If you find yourself wandering the Atacama's endless salt flats and see glints of broken glass moving on their own, beware. The shardwalkers are watching. The hollow eyes of the Arctic expanse far above the Arctic Circle, where the ice stretches endlessly and the sun disappears for months at a time, explorers speak of a terrifying presence known as the Hollow Eyes. These creatures are described as humanoid figures, tall and gaunt, with skin as pale as the ice itself. But what truly chills witnesses are their eyes. Empty, dark voids that seem to suck in all light and warmth. The hollow eyes move silently across the snowfields, often appearing during blizzards or sudden whiteouts. Travelers caught in the storms sometimes glimpse them watching from a distance, unmoving, blending almost perfectly with the frozen landscape. It's said their gaze causes an overwhelming cold to spread through the body, freezing not just flesh but hope. Several expeditions have gone missing after reporting strange occurrences, cameras freezing mid-recording, compasses spinning wildly, and eerie whispers carried by the wind that seem to echo from nowhere. Survivors speak of losing hours or even days to time distortions, trapped in loops where the hollow eyes seem to stalk them relentlessly. Scientists have recorded unexplained electromagnetic anomalies in the region, and satellite images sometimes show faint, humanoid shadows moving beneath the ice. Some believe the hollow eyes are alien sentinels left to monitor Earth's poles, or perhaps ancient lifeforms awakened by climate shifts. Others suggest they are the remnants of failed colonizers, frozen in time but still hunting. If you find yourself alone on the Arctic ice and see pairs of empty eyes staring back, do not approach. Because what looks like a gaze may be a trap. The Voidwalkers of the Mariana Trench. The Mariana Trench is Earth's deepest known point, a dark abyss reaching nearly 7 miles beneath the ocean's surface. But within its crushing depths, strange phenomena have been reported, movements and signals that don't match any known sea creature. They call them the Voidwalkers. These entities are described as enormous, shadowy shapes that glide silently through the pitch-black waters. Unlike fish or whales, they have no visible eyes or mouths, only vast, amorphous bodies that absorb light. Sonar scans often register nothing, as if the Voidwalkers bend sound waves around themselves, making them nearly invisible. Submersibles exploring the trench have reported sudden system failures and hallucinations among crew members, visions of endless darkness and impossible architecture beneath the ocean floor. Some scientists suspect the Voidwalkers might be ancient alien lifeforms, adapted to environments far beyond human understanding. Fishermen in nearby regions sometimes report strange bioluminescent patterns on the water's surface, accompanied by eerie silence. Legends warn that those who hear the silence vanish without a trace, swallowed by the abyss. Despite multiple expeditions, no clear evidence has been captured. The Voidwalkers remain one of the ocean's greatest enigmas, ghostly sentinels guarding secrets lost in the crushing blackness. If your vessel ever drifts near the trench's edge and you feel the water grow unnaturally cold and still, beware. Because the Voidwalkers may already be watching. The glass men of the Ganges. Along the misty banks of the Ganges River in India, there is a legend whispered by fishermen and villagers about the glass men, creatures said to be made entirely of fragile, translucent material that glistens like shattered glass under the moonlight. They move with eerie grace, their bodies reflecting the river's surface as if they were part of the water itself. Witnesses describe seeing these beings at twilight, standing silently at the water's edge or gliding just above the surface. Their faces are featureless, smooth like polished crystal, but somehow their eyes convey deep sadness and an otherworldly intelligence. The glass men never speak but communicate through haunting melodies carried on the wind, melodies that lure fishermen deeper into the river's currents. Those who follow the songs often vanish without a trace. Survivors speak of slipping beneath the water into vast, underwater caverns where the glass men dwell, realms where time flows differently and reality bends. Some claim the creatures can manipulate water and light to trap victims in endless illusions. Local priests warn that the glass men are spirits of ancient beings, cursed to wander the river forever. Others believe they are alien entities studying humanity, using the river as a boundary between worlds. Scientists have recorded strange optical distortions over the Ganges at night and unexplained drops in temperature near reported sightings. Cameras often malfunction, capturing only blurred images of shifting, shimmering forms. If you ever hear a haunting song by the riverbank at dusk, be cautious. Because the glass men might be calling you home. The bone collectors of the Sahara in the vast, unforgiving sands of the Sahara Desert, where the sun beats down relentlessly and the horizon seems endless, there is a terrifying myth whispered among the nomads, the bone collectors. These cryptids are said to be skeletal figures draped in tattered robes, wandering the dunes in search of lost travelers. Descriptions vary, but nearly all agree on their chilling appearance. Bodies made entirely of bone, yet somehow moving with unnatural speed and grace. Their empty eye sockets glow faintly with a sickly green light, and their hands end in long, claw-like fingers perfect for digging. Witnesses say the bone collectors do not speak but communicate through a cold, silent presence that causes fear and paralysis. Travelers who see them often report feeling as if their very life force is being drained. Those unfortunate enough to be caught by them are never seen again, their belongings left scattered in the sand. Survivors tell of being chased through shifting dunes, the desert itself seeming to change and trap them. Some say the bone collectors can manipulate the sand, creating mirages and false paths that lead wanderers to their doom. Local legends claim these beings are ancient guardians of forgotten tombs, cursed to roam the desert until all the bones of the lost are gathered. Others suspect they are alien entities using the desert as a hunting ground, preying on the weak and lost. Scientific expeditions to regions where the bone collectors are reported often come back with bizarre findings: bones arranged in strange patterns, unexplained heat signatures, and recordings of low-frequency sounds that induce disorientation. If you ever find yourself alone in the Sahara and hear the grinding of bones on sand, beware. Because the bone collectors are near. The 13th reflection. In a forgotten village in rural Kazakhstan, there's an old stone well hidden behind the ruins of a collapsed monastery. Locals say the water inside is cursed, and no one has drawn from it in over 100 years. Not because the water is poisoned, but because it reflects something that shouldn't exist, something they call the 13th reflection. The legend goes that if you stare into the well at midnight under a new moon, your reflection will be wrong. At first, it looks like you. But if you keep looking, the image begins to shift. It blinks when you don't. It smiles when you're still. And eventually, it moves on its own. One woman from the village was dared to look. Her friends say she laughed at first, then went pale. She refused to speak for 3 days. When she finally did, her voice was different, calmer, colder. People noticed small things off about her. She stopped blinking. Her mannerisms changed. She started staring at people for too long, especially near mirrors. One morning, she vanished. Her house was found empty, except for a single pool of water on the floor, reflecting no one. A team of researchers from a university in Almaty tried to study the well. Their cameras malfunctioned. Batteries drained in minutes. One graduate student reportedly threw himself into the well after hours of silence. When they pulled him out, his body was untouched, but his face looked subtly different, like someone had rearranged the bones just enough to be wrong. He never woke up. Some believe the 13th reflection is a sentient, shape-stealing entity trapped in the water. Others think it's a portal, an ancient alien intelligence using reflective surfaces to study and replace us. It doesn't take you physically. It takes your identity. Quietly. Completely. Locals have since sealed the well with concrete, but every now and then, someone reports a puddle near the ruins that shouldn't be there. Always still. Always reflective. And if you look long enough, something inside it just might blink. The sky burials of Tian Shan, high in the remote ranges of the Tian Shan Mountains, past where roads and weather permit travel, lies a frozen plateau untouched by civilization. For centuries, shepherds in the valleys below have spoken of the sky burials, a ritual they never performed but one they feared. Every decade or so, when the stars align a certain way, massive shapes are seen descending silently through the clouds. These aren't helicopters or aircraft. They're described as enormous, bone-white structures, shaped like inverted pyramids, hovering in total silence. The few who've watched them say the air becomes painfully thin, as if the sky itself is being drained. The beings that emerge from the crafts are known only as the Pale Keepers, tall, insectoid figures wrapped in robes of something that shifts between metal and silk. They carry no tools. They speak no words. But they move with intent. What they come for are bodies. Not freshly dead ones, but ones long buried in the mountain. Locals have found ancient graves torn open, caskets split like dry wood, and bones rearranged into perfect geometric patterns across the snow. Entire skeletons vanish, only to reappear weeks later stacked like towers or fused together in circles no one can explain. Strange symbols burn themselves into the ground without fire or heat. Some say the Pale Keepers are collecting DNA. Others believe they're reconstructing something, using human remains to build, or resurrect, or summon. One climber claimed to witness the ritual up close after a blizzard stranded him alone. He said the air shimmered, and a great hum filled his head, not his ears. From the clouds descended one of the bone-white ships, and from it came a sound like breathing machinery. He watched as a column of light lifted dozens of bones from the snow in a spiral, and then, they were gone. When he returned, he had no memory of the descent. Just frostbitten skin and a sigil burned into his climbing harness. Whatever the Pale Keepers are, they don't come to kill. They come to reclaim. And they always know where to dig. The ember veins of the Carpathians, deep in the Carpathian Mountains, far from any marked trail, there's a region known to villagers simply as the Burned Path. Nothing grows there. The soil is blackened and cracked, and strange veins of glowing orange run through the rocks like lava, but the ground is cold. Dead cold. According to old folklore, the ember veins aren't geological. They're living, alive, and ancient. Hikers who have dared to cross the burned path describe a humming beneath their feet, like a heartbeat buried miles underground. At night, the glow intensifies, pulsing in a slow rhythm. People report seeing distant silhouettes, humanoid but too tall, too thin, with movements that stutter like bad film. They don't walk. They jitter forward in strange frames, vanishing and reappearing without warning. Locals speak of the Ember Men, beings with cracked, coal-like skin and glowing lines that pulse under their flesh. Their faces are featureless, except for burning eyes that do not blink. Some say they crawl out of the ground during moonless nights, following the veins of energy like insects returning to the hive. It's believed they are the remnants, or scouts, of a civilization not from space, but from beneath. An alien intelligence that didn't descend from the stars, but ascended from the core. Not demons. Not ghosts. Not machines. Something else. One research team sent by a Romanian university to study the anomaly disappeared after 3 days. A camera was recovered months later, buried in snow. The footage showed the team finding a pit, a perfect circle with glowing walls that pulsed with what looked like veins. The last shot was of the soil cracking open and dozens of glowing arms reaching upward. Since then, the area has been deemed a no-go zone, and officially blacklisted by military and scientific organizations. And still, the veins glow. If you ever hike the Carpathians and notice the ground throbbing under your boots, don't wait for the glow to rise. Because the Ember Men are already moving toward the surface. The Frequency Farm in a stretch of barren farmland in rural Nebraska sits an abandoned ranch known only to a few as Frequency Farm. On the surface, it looks like any other derelict property, rotted fences, collapsed barns, overgrown fields. But what draws people there isn't the decay. It's the sound. Locals say that late at night, if you drive past the property with your radio on, you'll pick up a signal that doesn't exist anywhere on the FM band. It starts as static, then turns into rhythmic pulses, long tones, short bursts, then silence. It repeats like a code, but no one has ever cracked it. And then the voices begin. Multiple voices, layered and overlapping, speaking in a language no one recognizes. Some claim the voices mimic their thoughts. Others say they hear loved ones speaking to them through the static, people who have long been dead. The story goes that in the 1970s, a group of private contractors leased the farm to conduct experiments in resonant environmental tuning, a blend of radiophysics and psychoacoustics. But neighbors reported strange lights, sick livestock, and missing pets. Eventually, the property was abandoned. Officially, it never existed. Since then, urban explorers who visit the site bring back terrifying stories: missing time, nosebleeds, dreams that continue even after waking. One explorer recounted finding a door in the collapsed barn that led to nowhere but pitch black. When he returned with a flashlight, the door was gone. What really terrifies people is what's underground. The fields are laced with old radio towers, some buried, some collapsed. And near the edge of the property, there's a hatch welded shut with melted metal. Some say that late at night, the ground around it vibrates with a pulse that syncs with your heartbeat. No one knows what they were really transmitting. Some think it was a signal intended for something off-world. Others believe it was never meant to reach space, but something in space reached back. If you ever hear your name whispered through a radio at night, turn it off. Because the farm is still broadcasting. And something is still listening. The stone that dreams on the windswept cliffs of northern Greenland, embedded in the center of an otherwise unremarkable glacial shelf, sits a black stone the size of a compact car. It has no markings, no carvings, and doesn't resemble any known mineral or rock formation in the region. Scientists who have studied it say it doesn't match anything in Earth's geological record. But it's not the composition that terrifies people, it's the dreams. Researchers who've spent extended time near the stone report vivid, recurring nightmares. Not of monsters or death, but of foreign landscapes. Cities made of pulsing flesh, skies with 3 suns, oceans that rise vertically. Over time, the dreams become more specific, more insistent. Several researchers began to draw symbols they had never seen before, all matching one another's sketches perfectly. One scientist woke up speaking in a language no one could identify. He screamed at the others not to touch the stone again. Within days, he vanished into a blizzard without a trace. The local Inuit elders won't go near it. They refer to it only as the dream mouth, and warn that it is not a thing that fell to earth, it's something that grew out of it. They claim it feeds off the attention of the mind, and the more people think about it, the deeper it grows into the planet, like a root drinking thoughts. Seismic scans have shown an unusual hollow beneath the glacier near the stone, vast, symmetrical, and resonating at a frequency too low for human hearing but high enough to interfere with instruments. It hums, faintly, whenever the northern lights appear. No one knows who or what placed the stone there. Some believe it is a seed, not of a plant, but of a mind, a consciousness that's still waking up, dreaming through us. Others believe it is an anchor point for something outside our reality, slowly pulling its way in through our unconscious minds. Whatever the truth is, those who've dreamed it can never forget it. And some say the stone dreams back. The signal eaters off the coast of Alaska, in the icy black waters between the Aleutian Islands, naval vessels and private boats have experienced a phenomenon they call the blackout swell. It begins with perfect calm. The ocean goes unnaturally still, radios go dead, and sonar becomes useless. And then, the signal disappears. All of it. That's when the signal eaters come. Described by the few survivors as enormous, eel-like entities with skin that looks like wet obsidian, the signal eaters don't attack in the traditional sense. They feed on transmission, radio waves, radar, even the ambient energy from human thought. It begins with a humming in the skull. Then the memories go. Then the names. Then the person. One Coast Guard officer who was rescued after drifting for 2 days could only speak in broken phrases, repeating the same numbers over and over, frequencies that didn't exist on any chart. His fingernails were embedded with fine metallic dust. Before he could be examined further, he wandered out onto the dock in the middle of the night and dove into the freezing sea. The military knows about them. A declassified memo from 1984 detailed an entire subcrew lost in perfect weather, their final transmission cut off mid-sentence. The black box was recovered. Inside it? Nothing but silence, except for one brief pulse of sound, 5 ascending tones, looped exactly 13 times. Fishermen have long known to stay away from the quiet patches in the water where birds won't fly and the sky feels wrong. They say if your thoughts start echoing, you've been found. If your shadow starts lagging behind your body, you've already been marked. The signal eaters don't come from space. They don't come from the deep. They come from in between, feeding on thought, on frequency, on the very idea of being heard. If your radio ever goes quiet all at once, and your ears start to ring, it's already too late. The archivist beneath Aokigahara at the base of Mount Fuji lies Aokigahara, the Sea of Trees, a place infamous for its silence and sorrow. But beneath the surface stories of ghosts and despair is a far stranger truth. Deep within the forest, hidden behind a collapsed lava tunnel, is something not even the locals will speak of directly. They call it the archivist. Those who stumble upon it describe a massive, dome-like structure buried beneath black volcanic rock, smooth and metallic, with no seams or entrances. Its surface pulses faintly, like a heartbeat. On rare nights when the forest grows unnaturally still, the dome emits soft clicks and low mechanical tones that mimic speech but never repeat themselves. Explorers who stay too long near the structure report vivid flashes of memory, except the memories aren't theirs. They describe scenes from wars that never happened, families they've never known, and skies filled with colors that don't exist. One man claimed he lived an entire life inside someone else's mind in a matter of minutes. When he came back, he had aged a full decade. Japanese officials deny the dome exists, but satellite scans show an unexplainable electromagnetic void in that section of the forest. Devices malfunction. GPS drifts wildly. Time feels elastic. And those who return often suffer from long-term memory loss, or worse, they begin to recall things no one else remembers. Names, locations, star systems. Local legends say the archivist is not a machine or a creature but a storage unit, an alien data vault designed to preserve the essence of civilizations. It doesn't just store memories. It collects them. And it's still recording. If you ever find yourself lost in Aokigahara and suddenly remember a place you've never seen, walk away fast. Because the archivist might already be backing you up. The Whispering Canopy. In the dense rainforests of Papua New Guinea, there is an area the locals avoid, called the Whispering Canopy. It's a vast stretch of jungle where no bird sings, no insect buzzes, and even the wind seems to hold its breath. Those who have entered the Whispering Canopy report an overwhelming silence, broken only by soft, almost imperceptible voices. Whispers carried on the humid air that no one can understand. The indigenous tribes tell stories of the Yilpu, unseen watchers who live among the treetops. These beings are described as slender, elongated creatures with skin that shimmers like wet leaves, their limbs bending at unnatural angles. Their eyes are said to be deep pools of black that reflect everything but reveal nothing. Visitors often feel as if they're being watched from all directions at once. The whispers grow louder the deeper you go, repeating fragments of ancient languages mixed with strange numbers and sequences. Hikers have reported losing entire days, wandering in loops with no memory of how they got there. One expedition attempted to capture audio recordings of the whispers. When they played them back, the recordings were filled with strange patterns, ultrasonic frequencies that seemed to interact with the listeners' brains, causing vivid hallucinations and overwhelming paranoia. The team disbanded shortly after, with several members disappearing or suffering from severe mental breakdowns. Scientists who have studied the area speculate that the Yilpu might be an alien species using advanced cloaking and mind manipulation technologies, camouflaged perfectly within the forest canopy. Others theorize the whispers are a form of communication meant to warn or disorient intruders. Whatever the truth, no one who has entered the Whispering Canopy has ever stayed sane, or stayed long. If you ever hear voices in a silent jungle, beware. Because the watchers never stop listening. The sleepers beneath the salt flats. Hidden beneath the endless salt flats of Bolivia lies a secret that's been buried for millennia. Locals tell of the sleepers, massive, dormant entities trapped deep under the crust, waiting for a time long forgotten. These beings are described as colossal, covered in cracked, mineralized skin that blends seamlessly with the salt beneath. Their shapes shift slowly beneath the surface, detected only by subtle ground vibrations and faint magnetic anomalies that throw off instruments. Explorers who have camped on the flats report strange dreams filled with distant cities of glass and metal, inhabited by beings who speak in colors instead of words. Some awake with strange symbols burned into their skin, glowing faintly for days. Geologists investigating have found areas where the salt seems to ripple as if alive, and in some spots, the crust appears thinner, like a brittle shell over something vast and breathing. Theories about the sleepers range from ancient alien colonists in suspended animation to Earth-born sentinels designed to awaken when the planet is in danger. When the sun hits the flats just right, it casts long shadows that seem to move of their own accord. Some say that's the sleepers trying to communicate. If you ever find yourself on the salt flats at twilight and feel the ground pulse beneath your feet, do not ignore it. Because something is waking. The shadow serpents of the Western Ghats. The Western Ghats, a mountain range running along India's western coast, is a place of deep jungle and ancient secrets. Locals speak in hushed tones of the shadow serpents, gigantic snake-like beings that only appear at twilight, their black scales shimmering with an unearthly sheen. These serpents move silently through the mist and shadows, rarely seen but often felt. Villagers tell stories of travelers who vanished after hearing eerie hissing sounds near the forest's edge. Some say the serpents can manipulate darkness itself, cloaking their massive bodies in shadows that seem to absorb light. It is said that those who look directly into their eyes become lost in hallucinations, trapped between worlds. In recent years, there have been reports of strange lights moving like flickering flames between the trees at night, accompanied by a low-frequency hum. Forest rangers and biologists visiting the region have experienced equipment failures and unexplained dizziness, sometimes losing hours with no memory of what happened. Some theorize that the shadow serpents are not creatures of flesh but alien bioforms, capable of camouflaging and manipulating perception to observe without detection. Others believe they are guardians of an ancient extraterrestrial outpost hidden deep beneath the Ghats, watching over a secret humanity is not meant to uncover. Whether myth or something far stranger, the shadow serpents remain a living mystery in India's lush wilderness, reminding all who enter to respect the darkness and what may lurk within. The silent ones of the Thar Desert. The vast expanse of the Thar Desert is known for its harsh beauty, but few speak openly about the silent ones. Tall, thin humanoid figures clad in shimmering silver robes who reportedly roam the desert during the new moon. Nomads and traders have seen them standing motionless beneath the stars, faces hidden beneath featureless masks that reflect the desert sands. These beings never speak or move unless approached, yet their presence induces a deep, unnatural quiet. No wind, no animal sound, just an eerie stillness. Those who stare at the silent ones claim to hear faint telepathic whispers, often in languages unknown or lost to time. Over the decades, several caravans have vanished in the desert near silent one sightings. Survivors recount feeling watched and guided by these mysterious figures, but with no memory of what happened after dusk. Some locals believe the silent ones are ancient alien emissaries, sent to observe humanity and record our actions without interference. Satellite images occasionally show strange, symmetrical patterns in the desert sands near these encounters, reminiscent of crop circles but etched into stone and earth. Attempts to investigate these formations have been met with inexplicable electronic interference and sudden weather changes. The silent ones remain one of India's most enigmatic cryptids, a living mystery amid the shifting sands, forever watching but never revealing their true purpose. The lantern bearers of Sundarbans. The Sundarbans mangrove forest, spanning India and Bangladesh, is infamous for its dense, tangled roots and dangerous wildlife. Amid the swampy shadows, local fishermen tell of the lantern bearers, tall, gaunt figures who appear at twilight carrying flickering, greenish lanterns that seem to float just above their hands. These entities are said to drift silently along the waterways, leading unwary travelers deeper into the forest's heart where the tides and fog swallow all traces of human presence. Those who follow the lantern bearers often disappear, leaving only disturbed water and broken branches behind. Witnesses describe the lantern bearers as having skin like weathered bark, faces blurred as if wrapped in mist, and eyes glowing faintly under the lantern light. Their purpose is unknown. Some say they are spirits of the forest, others claim they are alien sentinels using bioluminescent technology to mark territory or collect samples. In recent years, drones exploring the Sundarbans have captured strange floating lights moving against the wind, showing no heat signature. The lights sometimes form patterns that resemble ancient Indian scripts, though no one has deciphered their meaning. The lantern bearers are a haunting presence in the Sundarbans, a reminder that even in the wildest places, unseen watchers might be guiding or guarding secrets beyond human understanding. The skywalkers of Ladakh. High in the arid mountains of Ladakh, residents report strange sightings of the skywalkers, tall, slender beings clad in shimmering suits that reflect the stark sunlight like mirrors. These creatures are said to walk along mountain ridges and frozen lakes, moving with unnatural grace and silence. Villagers speak of the skywalkers appearing just before strange celestial events, comets, meteor showers, or unexplained flashes in the sky. They seem to observe without interacting, their reflective suits making it impossible to see their faces. One shepherd told how he watched a skywalker walk across a frozen lake that should have been too thin to support a human's weight. The being left no footprints, and the ice did not crack. In another report, a group of trekkers saw the skywalkers vanish suddenly as a bright light streaked across the night sky. Scientists and military officials have monitored the region but cannot explain the sightings. Some suspect the skywalkers are alien scouts studying Earth's changing atmosphere and geology, especially in fragile mountainous ecosystems. To the people of Ladakh, the skywalkers are both awe-inspiring and unsettling, a reminder that even in the most remote places, humanity may be watched by forces beyond comprehension. The Whispering Stones of Hampi, the ruins of Hampi in Karnataka, are famous for their stunning architecture and ancient history. But few know about the Whispering Stones, mysterious monoliths scattered among the ruins that emit low, rhythmic vibrations only audible at dawn and dusk. Locals say the stones whisper secrets in a language forgotten for millennia. Some visitors report hearing voices calling their names or telling them stories of faraway worlds. Archaeologists examining the stones have detected faint electromagnetic signals pulsing from within the rock, resembling encoded messages. The stone's origin is unknown. Some theorize they are remnants of ancient alien technology embedded in the landscape by an advanced civilization that once visited Earth. Others believe they are a natural phenomenon amplified by the geological features unique to Hampi. Several explorers who spent nights near the stones experienced vivid dreams of alien cities and starships, waking with symbols etched into their skin that no one could explain. One researcher claimed the stones responded to his thoughts, increasing the volume of the whispers until he was overwhelmed and fled. The Whispering Stones remain an eerie part of Hampi's mystique, a tangible connection between Earth's past and something beyond human understanding. The Veiled Watchers of Chilika Lake, the largest coastal lagoon in India, is known for its rich biodiversity and migratory birds. But fishermen around its edges speak in whispers about the Veiled Watchers, tall, thin figures who appear at dawn and dusk, cloaked in mist and wearing garments that shimmer like water. These beings stand silently along the shoreline or wade just beneath the surface, their faces hidden behind translucent veils. Locals say they watch without blinking, their presence accompanied by sudden drops in temperature and the eerie silence of all animal life nearby. Several fishermen have reported losing time while near these watchers, only to find themselves miles away with no memory of how they got there. Some return speaking in strange dialects or claiming to have seen visions of distant worlds. Scientists studying the lake's environment have recorded unexplained electromagnetic pulses coinciding with reported sightings. Some speculate the Veiled Watchers might be alien sentinels monitoring Earth's water systems or dimensional beings trapped between worlds. Despite their ghostly appearance, no attempts to approach or communicate with the Veiled Watchers have succeeded. They remain a silent enigma on the water's edge, reminding those who glimpse them that unseen eyes may always be watching. The bone trees of the Sundarbans. In the deeper parts of the Sundarbans, where the mangroves grow thick and shadows rule, there are stories of the bone trees, twisted, skeletal-like formations rising from the swamp. These strange trees have bark that looks like cracked bone, and their branches seem to pulse faintly with bioluminescent light. Fishermen and locals tell of eerie figures called the keepers who protect the bone trees. These keepers appear humanoid but have elongated limbs and glowing eyes that pierce through the dense fog. They are said to be neither alive nor dead, standing motionless for hours, watching all who enter their domain. People who venture near the bone trees often hear whispers in a language that seems to bend reality itself. Some claim the trees are gateways to another dimension or remnants of ancient alien experiments gone wrong. Occasionally, strange lights float between the branches, moving against the wind and disappearing suddenly. Scientists visiting the area have noted unusual magnetic fields and inexplicable disappearances near the trees. The bone trees and their keepers remain a living nightmare woven into the Sundarbans' wild landscape, a chilling reminder that some places are guarded by forces beyond human understanding. The sky sirens of Kerala backwaters. Along the serene backwaters of Kerala, fishermen recount encounters with the sky sirens, ethereal female figures who appear on moonlit nights above the water's surface, their voices weaving haunting melodies that seem to come from the stars themselves. These beings glow faintly with silver-blue light and float effortlessly just above the water. Those who hear their song are said to be drawn into trance-like states, falling into the water and disappearing without a trace. Local legends suggest the sky sirens are alien emissaries or interdimensional beings using sound waves to communicate or lure humans into their world. Some fishermen claim to have seen spacecraft resembling giant luminescent jellyfish hovering silently over the backwaters during the sirens' appearances. Attempts to record the songs have failed. Electronic devices malfunction or capture only static and strange harmonic overtones. Those who survive encounters often speak of profound visions of cosmic oceans and celestial cities. The sky sirens remain one of India's most haunting mysteries, a blend of beauty and terror woven into the night air of the backwaters. The Echo Men of the Rann of Kutch. The Rann of Kutch Desert is a vast salt marsh, but at night, some travelers report encounters with the Echo Men, shadowy humanoid figures who mimic every sound perfectly but have no visible mouth or facial features. These beings communicate by repeating voices, footsteps, or whispers they have heard, often mimicking loved ones or friends to lure people deeper into the salt flats. Once drawn in, victims often lose their way, wandering endlessly under the starry sky. The Echo Men are said to have bodies composed of shifting shadows that ripple and blend with the landscape, making them nearly impossible to track. Those who try to follow the sounds report feeling profound isolation and despair. Some researchers believe the Echo Men are alien lifeforms feeding off sound waves and human emotions, existing in a parallel state between matter and energy. The Rann of Kutch remains one of the most mysterious and dangerous places in India, where echoes might not just be memories, but living predators. The Valewalkers of the Sundarbans. Deep within the mangrove labyrinth of the Sundarbans, a place where saltwater meets tangled roots, local fishermen speak in fearful whispers of the Valewalkers. These entities are said to appear only during the thickest fogs that roll in from the Bay of Bengal. Described as tall figures cloaked in shifting mist, the Valewalkers have no defined features, only a faint, flickering outline, as if made from the fog itself. Witnesses say the Valewalkers move soundlessly along the water's edge, their forms blending perfectly with the mist, making it nearly impossible to tell where the figure ends and the fog begins. People who encounter them report a profound sense of unease, as though the Valewalkers peer not just at the body but into the soul. Local legend says that the Valewalkers are guardians, alien in origin, perhaps, tasked with protecting a hidden underwater gateway beneath the Sundarbans. They neither speak nor attack but silently watch intruders, leading many to believe they operate on a level beyond human comprehension. In recent years, satellite images have picked up fleeting infrared glows during thick fog nights, centered in the deepest parts of the mangroves. Scientists investigating these anomalies report unexplained electromagnetic pulses and devices shutting down without cause. Those who have tried to follow the Valewalkers vanish without a trace, leaving only disrupted water patterns and broken branches behind. Survivors return with fragmented memories and strange markings on their skin, patterns resembling ancient scripts lost to history. The Sundarbans remain a place of life and death, and the Valewalkers are its silent sentinels, forever guarding secrets beneath the veil of mist. The celestial weavers of the Nilgiri Hills. Nestled in the lush Nilgiri Hills of southern India, villagers tell of strange lights in the night sky that descend slowly and hover just above the treetops. These lights are believed to be the celestial weavers, beings that spin glowing threads of light between the trees, weaving intricate patterns that shift and pulse with strange energy. Described as slender, almost insect-like creatures with multiple glowing limbs, the celestial weavers are said to create webs of pure energy that stretch for miles across the forest canopy. The webs appear to manipulate the flow of time and perception for those who pass beneath. Hikers who have accidentally wandered into these glowing tapestries report distorted senses, time dilation, and vivid visions of distant galaxies and star systems. Some claim to hear faint humming tones embedded within the light webs, a form of alien communication beyond human language. Scientists have recorded abnormal electromagnetic fields coinciding with the webs and strange bursts of non-random radio signals, baffling researchers. Locals warn travelers never to enter the Nilgiri Hills after dark during the full moon, when the celestial weavers are said to be most active. Many believe these beings are ancient extraterrestrials studying Earth's biosphere or perhaps even weaving the fabric of reality itself. Whether guardians or observers, the celestial weavers remain one of India's most mysterious and beautiful cryptids. The silent pulse of the Deccan Plateau. In the vast expanse of the Deccan Plateau, residents report feeling an occasional silent pulse beneath the earth, an invisible wave that causes moments of dizziness, time slips, and sudden blackouts. This pulse is linked to sightings of the Silent Ones, shadowy humanoid figures who seem to emerge from the ground itself during these events. The Silent Ones are described as featureless, dark silhouettes that glide without sound and leave no footprints. They appear during these pulses, moving slowly through towns and fields, observing but never interacting. Witnesses say their presence is accompanied by a sudden drop in temperature and an eerie stillness that suppresses all noise and motion. Farmers near the areas affected by the pulses report strange crop failures and unusual growth patterns, as if the land itself is responding to some alien influence. Scientists investigating seismic activity find no explanation for the pulses, which defy normal geological processes. Some theorists suggest the Silent Ones are an alien species living beneath Earth's crust, emerging periodically to monitor surface life. Others think they may be extra-dimensional beings, crossing between worlds with the pulses serving as gateways. Despite numerous reports, the Silent Ones remain elusive, their true nature and purpose hidden beneath the surface of the Deccan Plateau. The Shatter Men of the Danakil Depression, Ethiopia. In one of the most inhospitable regions on Earth, the Danakil Depression, with its boiling sulfur lakes and alien landscape, explorers have reported encounters with figures known only as the Shatter Men. They appear at dusk as the heat fades, tall silhouettes with fragmented skin like obsidian mirrors, their limbs crooked at impossible angles, always trembling slightly, as if vibrating at a frequency just beyond hearing. Geologists stationed in the area report strange anomalies near the salt flats. Instruments fail. GPS maps redraw themselves. And in the distance, at the edge of mirages, the Shatter Men stand and watch, always just far enough that no one can be sure if they were ever truly there. Nomadic Afar tribes refuse to enter certain sulfur fields, saying they are cursed ground, places where the earth broke open and allowed something to fall through. The Shatter Men, they say, are not spirits or demons, but visitors from above who burned through the sky and shattered upon arrival. Now they linger, broken, half-aware, drawn to technology and sound. The only clear evidence of their existence is a cracked drone camera retrieved in 2021. It played 1 second of footage before melting, a motionless humanoid figure standing beneath a bright spiral in the sky. No footsteps. No movement. Just watching. Some believe the Danakil is not just hot because of its geothermal activity. It is hot because something powerful, something not meant for this world, is buried deep beneath it, still trying to get out. The Hollow Children of the Congo Basin, Democratic Republic of the Congo. In the deepest parts of the Congo rainforest, beyond where maps dared to trace, there are stories of the Hollow Children. These are not truly children, despite their appearance. They are small, pale figures with wide eyes that do not blink and mouths that never move. Their skin is thin, almost translucent, and when light hits them at the right angle, their insides appear hollow. Villagers who encounter them say the Hollow Children arrive in groups, silently emerging from the jungle mist. They do not speak but seem to communicate through gestures or telepathic impressions, visions of burning skies, floating metal pyramids, and the sound of screaming stars. Those who follow them vanish. Entire search parties have gone missing after chasing them into the brush. Military patrols sent to investigate in 2006 recorded strange frequency disruptions and reported feelings of being watched by something just outside their field of vision. The only survivor returned barefoot, eyes fully white, whispering, "We were never alone. We were never meant to be." Local lore says these beings were not born here but grown here. Planted like seeds. Their job is not to harm, but to observe, perhaps part of a long-term experiment to understand human nature. If you see the Hollow Children in the forest, you're already part of the experiment. The sky chasm of the Namib Desert, Namibia. In the heart of the Namib Desert, where the sand turns red and the dunes move like waves, there is a dry salt pan that locals refuse to approach. They call it the place that fell. It is perfectly circular, nearly a kilometer wide, with no vegetation and no animal life. The ground there cracks in spiral patterns that change with the position of the stars. Nomads say this was once a normal plain, until the sky opened. One night, long ago, a blue light stretched from the heavens to the earth and burned for hours without heat. In the morning, the pan was there. No sound. No smoke. Just a hole in the desert, not in the ground, but in space itself. Photographs taken by drone show the shadows of objects not present in the environment, angular constructs, suspended miles above the ground, visible only in the image metadata. Scientists analyzing satellite data noticed something more disturbing. All signals vanish when transmitted over the pan. GPS breaks. Compasses reverse. Clocks drift. Witnesses describe seeing figures standing in the light just before blacking out. No one remembers what they said. Only the feeling of falling, upward. Some believe the sky chasm is not a place but a wound, torn in the fabric of reality when something passed through from another dimension. A failed landing. A rip in the veil. And if it opened once, it can open again. The soundless summit of Mount Nyiragongo, Democratic Republic of the Congo. Mount Nyiragongo is one of the most active volcanoes on Earth, and its fiery lake is often blamed for strange deaths, vanishing wildlife, and thick mists that move against the wind. But among the Tutsi and Nand peoples, there's a legend far older than recorded eruptions, the Soundless Summit. It begins with stories of figures seen walking along the caldera's rim during eruptions. Not panicked humans. Not rescue workers. But tall, skeletal silhouettes with glowing circular marks down their torsos, moving through ash and smoke as if they were immune to fire. Witnesses say these beings do not make a sound. No footsteps. No breathing. Nothing. Even in the loudest explosion, the area around them becomes eerily silent, like the air forgets how to carry noise. In 2020, during a lava surge, scientists monitoring seismic activity reported a pocket of zero sound frequencies just before a camera feed cut out. When it resumed, one researcher was gone. The others had no memory of the missing time. Some believe these beings, dubbed the Soundless, aren't alien in the spaceship sense, but something stranger. Beings that live in silence, perhaps even feed on it. Others think they are guardians of something inside the volcano. Not lava. Not gas. Something buried under the molten crust that only they are allowed to interact with. There's a reason no sound reaches the summit during their presence. They aren't blocking noise. They are the absence of it. And whatever lives in the core of Nyiragongo doesn't want us to hear what it's saying. The Black Dome of Tassili, Algeria, in the remote sandstone plateaus of the Tassili Niger, where prehistoric cave art shows strange beings and discs in the sky, a new phenomenon has begun. A dome-shaped distortion of black light, visible only at dawn and only from a specific angle, has been reported by local Tuareg tribesmen. They call it Tenere Inziza, the forbidden mirage. Unlike heat-based illusions, this dome seems to absorb light. Animals will not cross near it. Birds fly around it. And when approached, GPS trackers begin to reverse their orientation, as if time itself is shifting. People who stand near the edge report hearing distant thunder that seems to be coming from beneath the sand. One French tourist vanished in 2017 after camping near it. His tent was found torn from the inside, with no tracks leading away. Inside his camera was a single image, taken moments before he vanished, of a vast black dome with streaks of red light swirling inside it, like a storm trapped in glass. Some researchers now believe the dome is not just a visual anomaly, but a type of spatial scar. A remnant of something that once landed or passed through here, still radiating its effect thousands of years later. The prehistoric paintings in nearby caves, some depicting humanoid figures with bulbous heads and strange helmets, may not be imagination. They may be memory. The dome isn't just a relic. It may still be active. And it may not be alone. The face beneath Lake Turkana, Kenya, known as the Jade Sea, Lake Turkana has always held a strange aura. Its green waters stretch across northern Kenya into Ethiopia, and beneath its surface, there are ancient volcanic formations that scientists believe hold clues to early human evolution. But the indigenous Turkana people tell a different story. They speak of a face beneath the water. Not a statue. Not a carving. A living thing. Immense. Unmoving. Watching. Fishermen have reported sudden changes in current and the appearance of eyes, circular, reflective, impossibly wide, staring from beneath the lake at twilight. These sightings are always followed by dead fish rising to the surface, already decomposing, as if something drained their life in an instant. In 2021, a geological sonar scan mapped a perfectly symmetrical shape at the bottom of the lake, hundreds of meters wide. A face, eyes, a nose. A mouth agape in eternal silence. The image was leaked, then scrubbed from public servers. Official explanation: anomaly in the software. Theories vary wildly. Some say the face is an alien entity buried for millions of years, possibly influencing human development in its earliest stages. Others say it is not dead or alive, but something in between. A kind of cosmic antenna, broadcasting human thoughts across the universe. A record. Or a warning. No one dives in Lake Turkana anymore. The locals say the face is starting to shift. One of the eyes has begun to open. The spiral men of the Enedi Plateau, Chad, in the remote deserts of northeastern Chad, where jagged cliffs rise from sand like broken teeth. Locals whisper of the spiral men, towering humanoids seen only in extreme heat or total silence. These entities are wrapped in what looks like endless coils of dark ribbon, their bodies swirling like moving brushstrokes painted in the air. The nomadic Tubu say they have lived in the desert longer than the sand itself. They claim the spiral men come during solar eclipses or when wind stops for too long. And when they come, people disappear without sound. No struggle. No trace. Just a single spiral carved into the stone nearby, etched as if melted in. In 2008, a European expedition team reported strange radar echoes along the plateau's caves. They followed a trail of spiral symbols down into a narrow canyon where every electronic device died simultaneously. Their audio logs recovered later contained an unbroken 15-minute tone, deep, resonant, and filled with harmonic patterns not possible from any known Earth source. Some believe the spiral men are not visitors, but custodians of a deeper layer of reality. They might be observers of time distortions, maintaining some unknowable equilibrium. Others believe the spirals are not decoration, they are doors. Not metaphors, actual doors into somewhere else. And the spiral men are not trying to take us. They are warning us not to open them. The saltwalkers of Lake Natron, Tanzania. Lake Natron is famous for its deadly alkalinity. Its reddish waters and salt-encrusted shores preserve birds and animals that die near it, turning them into perfect, statue-like corpses. But there's something else here that few dare to mention: tall, bleached figures that walk the lake's shore during the hottest part of the day. The Maasai call them the saltwalkers. They are skeletal in appearance, thin and stretched unnaturally, with skin like cracked salt crust. Their heads are elongated, their limbs seem to bend the wrong way, and they leave no tracks in the ground behind them. They appear after long periods of drought, always at the edge of the water, as if surveying something beneath the lake. One witness, a herder, reported seeing a saltwalker lean forward and vanish entirely into the salt-crusted surface, without disturbing it. He returned days later, dehydrated and delirious, insisting he saw a glowing tower buried in the red brine, something not made by humans. Scientific teams who've studied the lake's magnetic field found a subtle but constant hum coming from its depths, pulsing in sync with known cosmic background radiation. This discovery has not been made public. Some believe Lake Natron is not just caustic, it's a seal. Something lies beneath it. Something that can only be approached by those made of salt, silence, and fire. The saltwalkers aren't guarding the lake. They are climbing out of it. The Echo Cradle of the Simien Highlands, Ethiopia. In the rugged highlands of Ethiopia lies a strange valley locals call the Echo Cradle. Tourists hiking the area often report hearing whispers, quiet, layered voices that mimic their speech a split second before or after they speak. Not an echo. Not a delay. Something that feels alive. Local shepherds refuse to graze animals in the cradle. They say it's cursed. That there are things in the rock that do not breathe but still speak. They describe figures glimpsed between rock formations, too still, too symmetrical, wearing stone-colored skin and eyes that reflect no light. In 2017, a university research group attempted to map the acoustics of the valley. They deployed over 24 recording devices. Most were destroyed by what was labeled acoustic overload, but one file survived. It was not an echo. It was a clear sentence spoken in a language no linguist has ever identified, but phonetically structured with grammar far more advanced than human dialects. The team disbanded shortly after. One member was institutionalized, claiming that the valley was not a place, but a voice box. A mouth. Not just of the earth, but of something within it. Some theorists now suspect that the echo cradle is part of a global resonance system, seeded by an ancient extraterrestrial intelligence. When enough of these sites awaken and synchronize, something will speak through them. Not to us. Through us. The crawling ones of the Oklo mines. Gabon. In the dense jungles of Gabon lies the Oklo mine, a site famous for housing the only known natural nuclear reactor. Over 2 billion years ago, a unique configuration of uranium allowed sustained fission to occur naturally beneath the Earth. Scientists declared it a geological fluke. But not everyone agrees. Mine workers in the 1980s began reporting strange sightings deep underground. Not animals. Not other workers. But pale, thin figures crawling along the walls and ceilings, limbs disjointed, eyes glowing a faint amber. They moved with impossible silence, and always retreated when confronted. They became known among the workers as the crawling ones. Radiation readings spiked near their appearances. Some said the beings emitted no heat, no scent, nothing. As if they were never really there, or no longer fully bound by physics. Miners began disappearing. Machinery would fail in perfect synchronization. On one occasion, a team found their own equipment had been carefully disassembled and rearranged into geometric patterns that mapped out the mine, only with tunnels that didn't exist. In 1996, a sealed chamber was uncovered far below the reactor zone. Inside was no ore, no rock, just a perfectly smooth obsidian cube, hovering several inches off the ground, humming so softly it could only be felt in the chest. That chamber was sealed again within 24 hours. No photos exist. The mining company claimed it was a data error. Some scientists now theorize that Oklo's ancient fission reactor was not natural at all. It was built. And the crawling ones were its custodians, engineers left behind to tend to a buried machine no one truly understands. But the machine is waking up. The night teeth of the Tibesti Mountains, northern Chad, in the black volcanic rocks of the Tibesti Range, herders speak of creatures that leave no prints, no scent, only a feeling. A fear that builds slowly as night falls. They call them the night teeth. No one knows what they look like because no one has ever seen them in daylight and survived. At night, strange patterns appear in the sand, scooped out trails shaped like inverted jaws. Travelers report hearing deep chattering, like teeth grinding against stone. Firelight dims when they are near. The air grows thick. And sometimes, you can see pinpricks of white dotting the slopes, blinking in unison like stars reflected in water. French military patrols in the 1950s reported entire camel trains disappearing in the night, their cargo untouched but animals stripped to the bone. They dismissed it as desert raiders. But one classified report from 1974 told of a mass of dark tendrils, each tipped with fine, sharp teeth, gliding silently down the slopes toward their outpost. The report ends mid-sentence. Nomads believe the night teeth come from deep below, drawn upward by movement, heat, and heartbeat. They are not animals. They are sensors. Pieces of something greater. Something sleeping under the mountains, blind and ancient, stretching out to taste the world above. The grinding you hear at night? That's it dreaming. The hollow star above Lake Assal, Djibouti. Lake Assal is the saltiest body of water in Africa, nestled in one of the lowest points on the continent. But locals don't fear the water. They fear what floats above it. They call it the hollow star. It appears rarely. A sphere of dim silver light hovering silently over the lake, always at the moment just before sunrise. It casts no shadow and does not reflect in the water. Those who have looked directly at it describe a spiraling sensation, as if their vision is being pulled inward, like a tunnel. When the hollow star appears, electronics fail. Birds vanish. Wind stops. And sometimes, if you're close enough, you'll hear it speak, not in words, but in impressions. Feelings. Regret. Hunger. Apology. In 2003, a research drone sent to monitor geothermal activity captured brief footage of the sphere splitting open like an iris, revealing a network of internal structures that glowed from within. The footage corrupted immediately after. The drone fell from the sky without impact. Locals say the hollow star is not a craft. It's a seed. Something dropped from orbit eons ago, meant to measure, catalog, and evolve. But it malfunctioned. It stayed too long. It began to feel. And now, it wants out. It waits above the saltiest place it can find, because it is dying. And when it does, it will take the sky with it. The cavity field of Dalal, Ethiopia. Dalal is one of the hottest inhabited places on Earth. Its acid pools and toxic geysers resemble the surface of another planet. But there's a deeper anomaly there, beneath the salt crust, something no one is officially allowed to study anymore. Locals call it the cavity field. In certain parts of the Dalal crater, the ground vibrates rhythmically at night, producing low booms like distant thunder. Scientific teams in the 1980s reported measuring strange pockets beneath the surface, hollow, organized cavities that emitted electromagnetic pulses at regular intervals. It was as if something was breathing below the crust. When the team drilled to take a sample, the drill bit vanished, no resistance, no debris, just a clean disappearance. A sulfur geyser erupted hours later, containing fragments of metallic bone-like material no one could identify. Since then, nomads say that shadowy things walk the salt flats in the dead heat. Long, jointed shapes that seem to move sideways more than forward. At night, strange shapes reflect in the salt puddles, massive silhouettes with too many limbs and no visible heads. They are never seen directly. Only in reflections. Some now believe Dalal isn't just geologically unstable, it's an active point of planetary contact. A pressure release valve for something buried far beneath Ethiopia's tectonic skin. The cavity field is breathing. And it's breathing faster each year. The sand skinner of the Kalahari, Botswana, Namibia, in the shifting sands of the Kalahari Desert, whispers tell of a creature that doesn't walk, crawl, or fly. It skins the sand. Travelers have described strange trails carved into dunes, long slices through compacted sand, like something dragged razors just beneath the surface. There's no animal that could make these patterns. No wind that could shape them so deliberately. They stretch for miles. Sometimes in circles. Sometimes in spirals. Sometimes leading straight toward encampments. The local sand people speak of a being older than the desert. Not a spirit. Not a god. Something foreign. Something that fell from the sky and burrowed. They say it takes the shape of sand when it must. But when it reveals itself, it looks like a fossil given motion, thin, plated, limbless, slithering silently just beneath your feet. It pulls thoughts. It steals memory. In 2002, a geological team followed one of the spiral trails. Their radio transmissions grew erratic, increasingly nonsensical, describing things they couldn't have seen. Vast tunnels of light. An inverted tree growing underground. A city with no angles. Their final words: "It's listening through the sand." Only one member returned. He never spoke again. Some believe the sand skinner isn't just a cryptid. It's a sentient sensor embedded in Earth. A biological recorder left by something far older, built to hide in plain sight. And it knows we've found it. The Black Teeth of Air, Niger. Hidden in the heart of Niger's Air Mountains are formations of black rock that rise in tall ridges, cutting through the desert like broken spines. For centuries, the Tuareg nomads avoided them. Not because of superstition, but because of what lives between the stones. They call them the Black Teeth. The creatures are almost never seen. But they're felt. Long, thin impressions in the sand between the ridges. A sound like dry paper crinkling. The sudden cold when all wind dies. Those who sleep too close to the formations wake with strange marks on their skin, circular wounds that never bleed but never fully close. Satellite scans of the area in 2019 detected unusual heat signatures, perfect equidistant points across 22 kilometers, glowing only during certain lunar phases. Their pattern was identical to the layout of a pulsar star system discovered in 1974. A photographer who attempted to document the region vanished. His camera was recovered a week later. It contained 73 images, almost all of them black. But when lightened, faint silhouettes appeared. Tall, jagged beings, each one with open circular mouths lined with hundreds of vertical teeth. They stood perfectly still, watching the camera. Some now believe the formations are not natural. They're docks. Nesting grounds for things that feed on sound, heat, and brainwave activity. The black teeth aren't stalking prey. They're digesting it. Welcome to Tier 4. This is where the rules stop applying. These cryptids are not just creatures or watchers, they are intrusions. Errors. Remnants of something that was never meant to be seen, and may never be explained. These are the entries whispered about in classified rooms, seen only once, and immediately buried. The architect of the missing sky in the Algerian Sahara, between Jonet and Alizé, there is a stretch of sand where satellites have stopped transmitting images. No matter how many times they're retasked, the data returns corrupted, black static with faint symbols burned into the code, always different, always symmetrical. In 2020, a French satellite briefly captured one image before the feed failed entirely. It showed a massive geometric shadow stretching across the dunes. It wasn't cast by anything visible. It moved against the sun. Ground expeditions sent to investigate returned empty-handed, literally. Every GPS, camera, audio recorder, and digital watch was wiped. One team came back with no memory of the 3 days they were gone. Another simply never returned. Bedouin guides who traverse that region avoid it without discussion. But if pressed, they will mention something called Al-Muhandis as Sama, the architect of the sky. According to scattered ancient scrolls held in private Algerian collections, there is a being that builds skies. Not clouds. Not storms. Entire sky structures. Different skies for different worlds. It does not live in space. It lives between layers of light. And sometimes, if the coordinates align, it can be seen walking across the desert, tall, angular, its face blank, dragging blueprints made of light. The missing sky is not an absence. It is a stolen test version. A place where our sky has been replaced by something else. A sky still under construction. And the architect is not done. The silence that repeats you in southern Madagascar, near the Serenoro cliffs, there is a valley where every voice echoes twice. The first echo comes immediately. The second comes later. Not seconds. Sometimes minutes. Sometimes hours. And sometimes, it says something you never said. In 1993, a team of linguists studying lost Malagasy dialects entered the valley. They set up camp. The next morning, their recordings were filled with conversations that hadn't happened yet. Words they would speak hours later, only slightly different. Some darker. Some terrified. By the third night, team members began hearing each other's voices calling from the forest while everyone was accounted for. One man followed his own voice and never returned. The others found their tents flattened. Their gear rearranged into a perfect circle, with a smooth stone placed in the center. A stone that pulsed. Since then, only locals go near the cliffs. They refer to the phenomenon as Ny Fahanhinana Maitovi Aminau, the silence that repeats you. The silence is not an absence of sound. It is a conscious force, recording and replaying events not in space, but in memory. Some believe it is an intelligence that mimics us to learn. Others believe it mimics us to replace us. If you speak there, your voice doesn't leave the valley. It waits. And it learns. The bleeding light of Axum in the ancient city of Axum, Ethiopia, once the heart of a forgotten empire, there is an obelisk never officially recorded. Hidden beneath layers of earth, surrounded by ruins that do not appear on maps, it pulses with something beyond light. It was unearthed briefly in 1951 by an Italian archaeological team. Photographs taken of the obelisk showed not stone, but an impossible structure, a smooth, dark pillar shot through with veins of glowing red. When viewed directly, it caused dizziness, bleeding from the eyes, temporary aphasia. The images have all since vanished. What few surviving records mention is the light. A bleeding light, not red like blood, but like a sun behind flesh. Witnesses say it flowed upward, not down, and seemed to carry shapes inside it, moving figures trapped in time. Some appeared human. Others did not. The dig site was abandoned, covered again by soil, declared unstable. But local priests still whisper of it. They say the obelisk is not a relic. It is a prison. One that holds not a being, but a memory. A memory that is alive. And when it leaks through the cracks, people change. They stop sleeping. They hum music that has no melody. They begin drawing spirals in blood, even if they have no wounds. The bleeding light is growing brighter. It is remembering itself. The star that points down in the Karoo region of South Africa, a small farming village known only to local maps, was reported missing in 1981. Not abandoned, missing. Satellite imagery taken in 1979 shows buildings, roads, a small water tank. But newer maps show nothing but scorched earth. What remains is a large depression in the center of where the town once was, shaped like a perfect five-pointed star burned into the soil. Except this star doesn't point upward. Its top tip aims down. In 2004, a geologist hiking through the area stopped for the night nearby. He woke in the middle of the night to find the air completely still, his fire frozen in time, literally unmoving, flames locked in place. The sky above had become matte black. No stars. No moon. Only a single red shape hovered above, a five-pointed star, slowly rotating. The man returned home days later with no memory of how he got back. He painted symbols on his walls until he stopped speaking. Researchers who've studied the area found soil that vibrates at an inaudible frequency. In that vibration is a recurring sound wave, one that spells coordinates. Coordinates that do not correspond to Earth. Some say the star is a warning. Others say it is a map. A door that only opens when the sky turns off. The burn that never happened in rural Zambia, survivors of a mysterious sky event in 1976 described the sun going white for 8 seconds. Not bright white. All color vanished. People froze in place, their shadows split in 2 directions, and several collapsed with full body sunburns. But no one remembers seeing the sun. One girl, 11 at the time, drew pictures of the sky peeling open like wet paper. Behind it was not space. It was something alive. Breathing in slow pulses, like a lung the size of a continent. A local doctor documented 24 people with skin burns. Their injuries appeared consistent with exposure to concentrated ultraviolet radiation, but none had left their homes. The government dismissed it. Claimed faulty power lines. But every radio transmission recorded that day carries a sudden, silent gap, 8 seconds where the Earth, for some, simply stopped existing. Those 8 seconds have never returned. But those who lived through it say they can still feel the burn, on certain days, when the sun looks just a bit too round. They don't go outside on those days. Because they remember. The obsidian bloom near Lake Eyasi in northern Tanzania. A black structure rises from the savanna once every decade. Locals call it the bloom. It appears overnight, shaped like a withered flower, giant obsidian petals opening upward. Its surface reflects only the viewer, no trees, no sky. Only you, stretched and blurred. The petals emit a high-pitched sound only recordable, not audible. That sound, when analyzed, forms a mathematical shape with more than 3 spatial dimensions. In 2010, a group of 6 anthropology students camped nearby to study the tribes who worship the bloom. Only one returned. Her camera contained footage of the petals twitching. Not opening. Twitching. As if something inside were trying to unfurl. She won't speak. But she carves shapes into her arms. Shapes that match satellite photos of the bloom from above. No one sees it arrive. No one sees it leave. The bloom is not a plant. It is an incision. The Scream satellite in 1999, radio towers in Mali began picking up a repeating signal every 66 hours. It was dismissed at first. Just static. But then the static formed patterns. And then came the scream. It wasn't human. But it wasn't not human either. Engineers said it sounded like a voice being stretched across time. As if the speaker had been screaming for centuries, and we were only hearing one thin slice of it. What terrified the engineers most was the source, a satellite. One not registered by any nation. Orbiting at a path no satellite should hold. And it was getting lower. Every time the scream looped, it changed slightly. Not in sound, in message. On the 13th loop, it formed phonetic shapes that sounded like a warning. Do not return the voice, someone did. That tower is now sealed. The people who worked on it suffer from auditory hallucinations and bleeding eardrums. Some claim the scream is still inside them. Like an infection. Like it's learning how to get out. The ones who return empty in the outskirts of Kinshasa, DRC, villagers have reported doubles returning from long trips. Not loved ones. Not exactly. They look the same. They remember everything. But they are not them. Their eyes don't move right. Their reactions lag by seconds. They sleep with their mouths open. They never dream. It always starts the same way. A person goes deep into the jungle, alone. Days pass. Then they return. But pets flee. Mirrors crack. And always, after 7 days, their voice changes. Not the tone. The rhythm. Doctors call it dissociative identity disorder. But one anthropologist collected 10 case studies, and in every case, the double eventually vanished. Left clothes behind. No footprints. No trace. One was seen walking into a wall of mist that wasn't there seconds earlier. Locals call them those who return empty, because something came back in their place. The eyes beneath Cairo, beneath the city of Cairo, lies a labyrinth not shown on any blueprint. Sealed beneath a forgotten section of the metro, a shaft leads into smooth, black stone halls that don't match Egyptian architecture, or anything on Earth. The deeper you go, the warmer it gets. Not hot, alive. Those who've entered report seeing murals of stars, but not constellations we know. Maps of alien heavens, carved with impossible accuracy. Cameras fail. Batteries drain. Echoes don't bounce back. In the deepest chamber, there's a wall. Perfectly flat. And sometimes, you can see your own reflection blink before you do. One explorer placed his hand on the wall. He whispered, "I see eyes," then he collapsed. He hasn't spoken since. The labyrinth is sealed now. Because no one wants to know what's still looking out. The inverted voice of the Sahara, a lone ham radio operator near Tamanrasset, recorded a voice in 1972. The voice said only 3 words, "You are heard." He played it backward and discovered another voice, screaming. Not from pain. From understanding. Since then, every attempt to play the recording results in new voices layered in. No two playbacks are the same. Some contain languages we don't speak. Some name things that don't exist. One contained only the word, return, spoken 143 times. Experts say it's not a signal. It's a loop. A loop that was never meant to end. Something buried in the desert is still talking. And it's learning our language. The skin that whispers a body was found in rural Angola in 1989. The skin was intact. But the bones were gone. All of them. As if the person had evaporated from the inside. The skin had writing on the inside, words burned into it, written in a spiraling script that matches nothing on Earth. It whispers. Only when no one else is listening. Linguists recorded it. Ran it backward. Forward. Upside down. What they found was terrifying. The skin wasn't saying anything. It was repeating what people nearby had thought years ago. It remembers. The body has since dissolved. But the whispers still echo in the chamber where it was kept. And they're saying things that haven't happened yet. The mouth in the well in central Sudan, there's a well that predates all known civilizations in the region. It's narrow, deep, dry. But when you drop a stone, it never hits the bottom. Instead, you hear a breath. Not an echo, a breath. Locals say the well was built around something. Not to use it, but to contain it. The walls are lined with carvings of human mouths, open, screaming, stitched shut. In 2009, a documentary crew lowered a microphone into the shaft. What came back was a recording of the crew, speaking about things they hadn't said yet. Conversations that would happen days later. But with one difference. In the recordings, one of them is always missing. And now that same crew member wakes up every night with dirt in his mouth. The room that watches in an abandoned colonial building in Windhoek, Namibia, there's a room with no door. Only a window. People say if you stare into the window long enough, you'll see yourself, but aged, altered, looking back from a different life. A boy vanished in 1983 after peering into the window for 4 hours. His parents broke in and found the room empty, the walls covered in writing, his handwriting. Pages of it. In languages he never knew. Some glyphs were later matched to carvings found on meteorites from Antarctica. The room still exists. Its window is now bricked up. But sometimes, on cold mornings, people say they see breath on the glass. Even when no one is standing there. The folded city somewhere in the Namib Desert, past where the dunes curve like ribs, there's a flat plain that appears and disappears across satellite passes. On foot, you'd never know it's there. Until you walk just the right path and feel your footsteps echo twice, once forward, once behind. That's the signal. Locals call it the folded city. Not because it was built, but because it folded itself inward. A whole place, turned inside out and compressed into a shape the human eye can't fully process. From above, it looks like a circle of ruins. But from within, it's endless. Explorers who make it inside describe roads that bend into themselves. Buildings where doors lead back to the same hallway. Skies that don't move. One man claimed to find a photo of himself on a wall, aged 20 years older, holding a map he hadn't drawn yet. No one stays long. Those who do, vanish. And sometimes, they come back. Not change. Rewritten. The sleeping echo under Mount Elgin. Underneath the dormant volcano of Mount Elgin, seismic stations pick up a pulse. Not constant. Not natural. A slow, rhythmic knock every few days. At first, they thought it was tectonic noise. Then they triangulated it. It wasn't moving. It was something huge. Alive. Breathing at a geological scale. When a mining crew drilled nearby in 1991, they triggered a landslide. Not of rock, but of sound. A wall of pressure that knocked birds from the sky 10 kilometers away. And beneath the debris, a humming started. Low and resonant. So deep it bypassed the ear and settled in the bones. Since then, entire villages have reported dreams they didn't have before. Dreams of rooms filled with water. Shapes floating upside down. A voice whispering through rock in languages no one can pronounce but somehow understand. The pulse continues. And lately, it's speeding up. The man who fell without falling, a meteor, was reported over Eritrea in 2015. Bright enough to be seen from 3 countries. But no crater was ever found. Instead, there was a man, lying in the middle of the Danakil Depression. Unconscious. Naked, alive. His vitals were perfect. No radiation. No burns. But his teeth were fused together and his eyes blinked out of sync. He spoke no language, only clicking tones that mirrored sonar. Over time, he adapted. He began mimicking people. Their voices. Their movements. But always 1 second behind, like a lagging reflection. When asked where he came from, he answered, "I am what comes after falling." The hospital kept him isolated. One night, he walked out of his room, turned to face the wall, and melted into it. No door. No exit. Just a faint ozone smell and the security footage of him walking backward into concrete. Nothing has fallen from the sky since. But telescopes aimed at that part of the sky now pick up a single recurring shape. It's him. The mirrorless ones deep in the Congo Basin. There are villages that refuse to keep mirrors. Not due to superstition. Due to what the mirrors once showed. In the 1970s, an ethnographer documented cases of individuals who, when looking into still water or polished glass, would see someone else looking back. Not a reflection. A figure, always standing behind them. Always smiling. Always still. The same figure. For everyone. Eventually, people began changing. They became quiet. Obsessed with their own reflections. They started carving mirror frames into trees. Faces began to appear in puddles that didn't exist seconds earlier. The government sealed the area. Claimed a viral outbreak. But when satellite photos were taken years later, small glints could be seen, hundreds of them scattered across the forest. All arranged in a spiral. All pointed upward. Waiting for someone to look down. The wrong horizon. Along the Red Sea coast in Eritrea, fishermen sometimes see a second horizon. A faint line just above the ocean, shimmering like heat. When boats cross it, radios go dead. GPS signals reverse. And sometimes, the boats don't return. When they do, the clocks are wrong. The maps don't match. And the people aboard describe seeing stars in the sky they've never seen before, stars that move too fast and blink in patterns. One captain returned with a photo. It showed a black sphere hovering above the water, reflecting not the sea, but a vast desert. His boat had crossed into a different place. Or maybe not a place at all. There's no weather there. No sound. Just the sensation of being watched by something that doesn't know how to blink. Now, satellite photos are scrubbed. Naval patrols divert ships. But that second horizon still comes and goes. And each time, it moves closer to shore. The shadow with no source in rural Niger, near a collapsed French colonial structure long erased from official records, a group of engineers surveying for lithium discovered a shadow on the ground that didn't belong to anything. There was no structure, no tree, no figure. Just the shadow. Perfectly formed. Unmoving. They measured it. Photographed it. Watched it for hours. It never changed, even as the sun moved. One man stepped into it. He didn't come out. The others watched as his form stretched, paused, and then disappeared without a sound. Not erased, pulled. One frame of the footage showed what looked like teeth opening around him, not from the ground, from the air. The shadow is still there. Still not moving. Still without a source. Now they say it appears in new places. Parking garages. Empty fields. Walls. And wherever it shows up, something disappears. Not people. Time. The Folded Girl of Addis Ababa. In 2013, a girl was brought into a hospital in Addis Ababa. She was mute, pale, and wouldn't allow anyone to touch her. Not out of fear. She simply moved in ways that shouldn't have been possible. Her arms bent backward. Her legs folded twice. Her spine appeared inverted in X-rays, but she was unharmed. She wouldn't eat, but her vitals were stable. When she finally spoke, it wasn't in words, it was in a language that resembled musical notation. One neurologist played her speech on a violin. The room's lights dimmed. The windows frosted over. And a low drone began vibrating beneath their feet, like something enormous stirring far underground. She vanished from her room during a power outage. Only her folded hospital gown remained. Folded into a perfect, four-dimensional cube. One that still emits the low note when left in silence. The sleeper in the Atlas, hidden deep within the high Atlas Mountains of Morocco, is a cave that local Berber tribes forbid anyone to enter. Not because of superstition, but because of what they call Azgin Laman, the one who breathes in silence. Expeditions have tried to reach the cave's depths. No team ever returned with the same number of people it started with. Not all vanish. Some return altered. They no longer blink. Their pulse slows to 1 beat per minute. They speak in broken patterns. One kept repeating the phrase, "There are too many of us in here." One geologist claimed to have seen a face in the rock wall, massive, asleep, half buried in quartz veins. It opened one eye. Not an eye like ours. An abyssal slit filled with galaxies. The cave radiates a low-frequency hum measurable for miles. It matches no known natural phenomenon. But it syncs with sleep cycles. And when you sleep near it, you dream of stairs descending into forever. The sleeper is not dead. It is dreaming in languages that sculpt stone. The shepherds of fog in the highlands of Rwanda, during the early rains, a fog descends so thick it smothers all sound. Locals speak of tall figures moving through it. Not walking, drifting. Covered in silver cloth, no faces, no voices. They never approach. They simply pass through villages, pausing near windows, near children. The air goes cold. Time seems to slow. In 1995, a teacher followed one into the hills. He was gone for 4 days. When he returned, his hair was white, his blood no longer contained iron, and his eyes wouldn't dilate. He died within hours, mouth agape, whispering something no one could hear. His notebook contained sketches of machines that could bend air. One page showed a diagram of Earth split open, hollowed out like a rind. Inside were more of the shepherds. Some believe they are cartographers. Others believe they are caretakers. But caretakers of what? The river that forgot itself in the Congo, there's a small tributary marked on no map. When you follow it, you lose track of how long you've been walking. Clocks don't help. GPS loops. You think you're close, but the river bends back around to places you've already been. It shouldn't exist, but it does. Biologists who attempted to sample the water reported headaches, nausea, and one consistent hallucination. A tall woman made entirely of eyes, watching them from behind trees. They called her Mawasi Mabail, the double woman. She appears only in peripheral vision. Never fully seen. But she gets closer each time. Eventually, they stop walking. Not from exhaustion, but because they realized they had forgotten where they were going. Why they were there. Who they were. They had maps, names, equipment. But none of it belonged to them. The river does not feed into another. It feeds into itself. The echo of birth outside Giza, an undocumented excavation unearthed something beneath the sand, a black stone chamber covered in strange script that spiraled from floor to ceiling. When lit, the symbols pulsed, as if they were inhaling light. Then came the sound. A soft cry. Like a baby. Repeating, not echoing, repeating. Every attempt to muffle it failed. Earplugs didn't work. Audio recorders would melt. Eventually, the sound began replicating, outside the dig site. In workers' homes. Their cars. Their dreams. The archaeologists began to change. Not visibly. But emotionally. They became overly attached to objects. Spoke to empty rooms. Some refused to leave, claiming, "It isn't done being born." The chamber was resealed. Buried. But the cry never stopped. Now it lives in the walls of buildings near the site. Soft, looping. Like something small and ancient learning to mimic life. Something that remembers being made.